The night Adrian Cole's carefully constructed walls came crashing down started with a text message he almost ignored. Standing in his daughter's doorway at 11 p.m., watching her sleep, Manhattan's youngest billionaire CEO had no idea that agreeing to tomorrow's blind date would unravel everything he'd spent 5 years protecting himself from. One woman, one chance encounter, one decision that would force him to choose between the fortress he'd built around his heart and the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, he deserved to feel something real again. If you want to see how far love can reach across impossible distances, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far this story travels. The windows of Adrian Cole's corner office stretched from floor to ceiling, offering an unobstructed view of Manhattan's glittering skyline. At 9:47 p.m. on a Thursday in late November, most of those distant windows were dark. Adrian envied them. The people behind those darkened squares had gone home hours ago, back to their normal lives, their predictable routines, their manageable problems. He loosened his tie and rubbed his eyes. The merger documents spread across his mahogany desk represented 18 months of negotiations, 12-hour days, and enough legal fees to buy a small island. His phone buzzed for the 100th time that evening. He glanced at it, expecting another email from the Tokyo office. Instead, it was Marcus. "Dude, tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'm not taking no for an answer this time." Adrian typed back quickly. Still no. 3 dots appeared immediately. "Your daughter asked me why you never smile anymore." Asked me. A 5-year-old noticed. "You're coming." Adrian set the phone down harder than intended. Marcus Chen had been his best friend since college, back when Adrian was just another ambitious kid with more drive than money, back before everything got complicated, before the failed marriage, before single parenthood became his entire identity outside these office walls. The phone buzzed again. "It's one dinner, 2 hours max. She's a teacher, vetted by my sister, completely normal. What's the worst that could happen?" Adrian stared at the message. The worst that could happen. He could remember what it felt like to want something, to hope for something, and then watch it fall apart again when reality inevitably crashed through whatever fantasy he'd been stupid enough to believe in. But Marcus was right about one thing. Lily had been asking questions lately. "Why don't you have a friend like Emma's mommy has? Why do you always eat dinner in your office?" Kids noticed everything, absorbed everything, internalized everything. He typed, "Fine, one dinner. But when this goes nowhere, you drop it. Deal. Rosewood Restaurant. I'll text you her name tomorrow." Adrian pocketed his phone and gathered the merger documents into their leather portfolio. The numbers blurred together, projected earnings, asset valuations, risk assessments. Everything in his professional life could be quantified, analyzed, controlled. It was the unquantifiable parts that destroyed you. His driver was waiting downstairs. The November air hit sharp and cold as Adrian stepped out of the building. His breath fogged white against the darkness. "Home, Mr. Cole?" James asked, holding the car door open. "Yeah, thanks." The drive to his Upper East Side brownstone took 20 minutes through light traffic. Adrian watched the city slide past, block after block of lives he'd never know, problems he'd never solve, happiness he'd never share. Somewhere out there, apparently, was a kindergarten teacher Marcus thought would be perfect for him. The thought made him tired. The brownstone was quiet when he entered. Mrs. Patterson, Lily's nanny, looked up from her book in the living room. "She's been asleep since 8:30, Mrs. Patterson said, gathering her things. "Ate all her dinner, finished her homework, no arguments about bath time. Perfect angel, as always." "Thanks, Dorothy. See you Monday." After she left, Adrian climbed the stairs to Lily's room. He eased the door open. His daughter slept curled on her side, one arm wrapped around the stuffed elephant he'd bought her last Christmas. Her dark hair spilled across the pillow. In sleep, she looked exactly like her mother had at that age. Adrian had seen the photos. He sat on the edge of her bed, careful not to wake her. 5 years old. Kindergarten. Already reading at a second-grade level and asking questions about why the sky was blue and where rain came from and whether penguins ever got lonely. "I'm trying, sweetheart," he whispered. "I know I'm not always here. I know I'm not enough." Lily stirred, but didn't wake. Adrian brushed a strand of hair from her forehead, then left as quietly as he'd entered. In his own room, he changed into sweats and tried to sleep. Instead, he lay awake thinking about the blind date he'd agreed to. already composing the polite excuses he'd make when it inevitably went poorly. Friday arrived with the kind of gray, bitter cold that made New York feel hostile. Adrian pushed through back-to-back meetings, the merger team at 9, a conference call with investors at 11, lunch with the board chairman who wanted reassurance that Adrian wasn't burning out. "You look tired," Chairman Morrison said over seared tuna neither of them touched. "I'm fine. That's what my son said 6 months before his divorce." Morrison set down his fork. "You're brilliant, Adrian. The youngest CEO this company's ever had. But brilliance doesn't mean much if you're running on empty. I appreciate the concern, but take a vacation, spend time with your daughter. Hell, go on a date. Do something that reminds you you're human." Adrian managed a thin smile. Funny you should mention that. At 6:30 p.m., Adrian found himself in the back of his car again, heading downtown. He'd changed into dark slacks and a gray cashmere sweater. Nice enough to not look like he didn't care, casual enough to not look like he was trying. The rosewood was upscale but not pretentious, which probably meant Marcus actually had put some thought into this. "Her name's Emma Hayes," Marcus had texted that afternoon. "Brown hair, probably wearing something blue. She'll be the one who looks nervous." Traffic slowed to a crawl near Columbus Circle. Adrian checked his watch. 6:52. Great. Now he'd be late, which would start everything off wrong, which would give him an excuse to cut the evening short. "Accident up ahead," James said. "We'll be moving soon." Adrian pulled out his phone to text that he was running behind, then realized he didn't have Emma's number. Marcus had set this up through his sister, who knew Emma from some teaching conference. The whole thing felt incredibly high school. When they finally reached the restaurant at 7:08, light snow had started falling. Adrian stepped out of the car and immediately noticed the commotion near the taxi stand. A young woman in a navy coat, worn at the elbows, missing a button, was arguing with a cab driver who was already pulling away from the curb. "That's my change," she called after him. "Sir, that's—" The taxi merged into traffic and disappeared. The woman stood there a moment, shoulders sagging. Then she turned toward the restaurant entrance, and Adrian got his first clear look at her face. Late 20s, maybe 30, brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, or at least none he could see from this distance. She looked like she was about to cry, but was absolutely refusing to let herself. She also looked exactly like Marcus's description. Adrian approached slowly. "Emma?" She turned, startled. Her eyes were this warm, honey-brown color that caught the light from the restaurant's entrance. "Oh, yes, Are you Adrian?" "Yeah, sorry I'm late." "No, I'm early. I always—" She stopped, glanced back at where the taxi had been. "Sorry, the driver gave me wrong change, and I didn't notice until he was already leaving, and She cut herself off. "That's not your problem." "Hi, nice to meet you." She stuck out her hand. Adrian shook it. Her fingers were cold. "That coat's not warm enough," he said, then immediately regretted it. Great start, criticize her clothes. But Emma just laughed, a real laugh that sounded surprised to escape. "Yeah, well, fashion versus function. Guess which one's winning in my tax bracket?" There was no bitterness in it, just statement of fact. Adrian found himself slightly off balance. Every woman Marcus had tried to set him up with before had been so carefully polished, so strategic in their presentation. This woman looked like she'd rushed here straight from work and was already regretting the whole thing. "Should we go inside?" he suggested. The Rosewood's hostess greeted them with practiced warmth and led them to a corner table. The restaurant was half full, the lighting warm and intimate without being dark enough to feel like they were hiding. A piano played softly somewhere in the background. Emma slid into her seat and looked around with the kind of wide-eyed appreciation that suggested she didn't eat at places like this often. Or possibly ever. "This is beautiful," she said. "When Marcus's sister told me her brother's friend wanted to meet someone, I pictured coffee. Maybe a diner. Would you have preferred that?" "Honestly? Maybe." She met his eyes. "I feel like I should have worn something nicer." "You look fine." "That's what people say when you don't look fine." But she smiled slightly. "It's okay. I know I'm out of my depth here. I teach kindergarten in the Bronx. My idea of dressing up is wearing my non-paint-stained cardigan." A waiter appeared with menus and a wine list. Emma glanced at the prices and went slightly pale. "Just water for me," she said quickly. "We'll take a bottle of the Montrachet," Adrian told the waiter, then looked at Emma. Unless you don't drink? I drink. I just don't drink wine that costs more than my monthly utility bill. The waiter departed. Silence settled over the table. Adrian picked up his menu, not because he was reading it, but because he needed something to do with his hands. So, Emma said, "This is awkward." Adrian looked up. "Yeah, it is." "Want to acknowledge it and move past it, or pretend we're both comfortable?" "Acknowledge it." "Good." She set down her menu. "I haven't been on a date in 3 years. The last one was with a guy who spent the entire dinner talking about his fantasy football league. Before that, I was engaged, but he left me for someone with better career prospects and no student loans. So if I seem nervous, that's why." "Your turn." Adrian hadn't expected the direct approach. Most people in his circles dealt in carefully curated half-truths. "I haven't dated since my divorce. My daughter was 6 months old when her mother left. I've been busy since then trying to be both parents and run a company." "What company?" "Coal Industries. We do corporate acquisitions and—" He stopped. "It's boring. Try me." So Adrian explained in broader terms than he usually used what his company actually did. To his surprise, Emma asked intelligent questions. She wanted to know about the human element, what happened to employees when companies merged, whether anyone tracked the downstream effects on communities, how he balanced profit against impact. "Most people don't ask about that part," Adrian admitted. "Most people probably don't grow up watching their parents lose jobs when a bigger company buys out the factory." Emma's voice was matter-of-fact. "I'm not judging, I'm just curious how someone makes those decisions. Carefully, or at least I try to." The wine arrived. Emma took a tentative sip, then a larger one. "Okay, that's really good. I'm going to pretend it doesn't cost more than my car payment and just enjoy it." "What do you drive?" "A 2008 Honda Civic with a questionable transmission and a bumper I fixed with duct tape. Don't look at me like that. She runs." "I wasn't—" "You were absolutely looking at me like that." But she was smiling now. "Let me guess. You drive something German, black, has a name instead of a model number." "It's gray." "Close enough." They ordered dinner. Emma chose the cheapest entree on the menu until Adrian suggested they split several dishes so she could try different things. She agreed reluctantly, then visibly relaxed when the food arrived and turned out to be genuinely good rather than just expensive. "Tell me about teaching," Adrian said. Emma's whole demeanor changed. Her eyes lit up. "You really want to know?" "I really want to know." So she told him. About the kids who came to her classroom hungry and how she kept granola bars in her desk. About the little boy who'd been labeled a behavioral problem until she realized he needed glasses and couldn't see the board. About the girl who'd arrived from Ecuador speaking no English and was now reading at grade level. "It's chaos," Emma said, gesturing with her fork. 23 5-year-olds in a room designed for 15. No budget for supplies, so I spend probably a quarter of my paycheck at Target. Parents who work 3 jobs and can't make conferences. But then there's this moment when a kid who's been struggling suddenly gets it. Reading clicks. Math makes sense. They look up at you like you just showed them magic. That's why you do it. That's why I do it." She paused. "Also because I'm not qualified for anything else. English degree, teaching certificate, 0 practical skills for the real world. Teaching is a practical skill. Teaching is a calling that pays poverty wages." Emma took another sip of wine. "Sorry, I don't usually get this honest this fast. Marcus's sister said you were nice and I should give it a chance, but I figured you'd be some finance guy who'd spend dinner checking his phone." "I am a finance guy." "Yeah, but you're actually listening. That's different." Adrian realized she was right. He was listening. For the first time in longer than he could remember, he was genuinely interested in what someone was saying, not because it affected a deal or impacted his business, just because he wanted to know. "Tell me about your daughter," Emma said. So Adrian did. About Lily's obsession with penguins, about how she'd started reading before she turned 4 and now burned through chapter books like kindling, about the way she asked impossible questions and got frustrated when he couldn't answer them immediately. "She sounds brilliant," Emma said. "She is. I just hope I'm not screwing her up." "The fact that you worry about that probably means you're not. Or it means I'm aware of how many ways I could be." Emma tilted her head, studying him. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead." "Why did you agree to this?" "Marcus's sister said he'd been trying to set you up for years and you always said no. Adrian considered lying, giving some easy answer. Instead, he said, "My daughter noticed I don't smile anymore. A 5-year-old had to point it out. That seemed like something I should probably address." "And how's that going so far, the smiling thing?" "Better than expected." Emma smiled at that, and Adrian felt something shift in his chest. Not dramatic, not earth-shattering, just a small crack in the wall he'd built, barely noticeable except for the way cold air suddenly reached a place that had been sealed off. They talked through dinner, through dessert, through 2 cups of coffee. The restaurant began to empty around them. The piano player packed up. Adrian kept expecting to run out of things to say, but the conversation just kept going, shifting naturally from topic to topic. Emma told him about growing up in a small town upstate, about parents who'd struggled but loved fiercely, about choosing teaching because her 4th-grade teacher had been the first person to tell her she was smart. Adrian told her about building his company from nothing, about the terror of those early years when failure seemed inevitable, about the strange emptiness that came with success. "Do you regret it?" Emma asked. "Getting everything you wanted?" "I regret what I gave up to get it." "Like?" Adrian thought about his ex-wife, about the marriage that had collapsed under the weight of his ambition and her resentment, about becoming a father before he was ready and then having to figure it out alone, about years of choosing work over everything else because work was predictable and controllable and didn't ask for pieces of him he wasn't sure he had. "Time," he said finally. "You can't buy that back." Emma nodded slowly. "My mom used to say that. She worked 3 jobs after my dad died. I barely saw her, but she was trying to give me a better life. She died of a heart attack when I was in college. 53 years old, all that sacrifice, and she never got to see me graduate. I'm sorry." "Me too." Emma looked down at her empty coffee cup. "But I think about her when my kids show up with empty lunchboxes or wearing the same clothes they wore yesterday. I can't fix their whole lives, but maybe I can be the person who makes them feel seen. Maybe that matters." "It definitely matters." The waiter approached hesitantly. "I'm sorry, but we're closing soon." Adrian glanced around. They were the only table left. "What time is it?" 11:15, sir." They'd been talking for 4 hours. Emma laughed in surprise. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize—" "Don't apologize." Adrian pulled out his wallet. "This was—" He couldn't finish the sentence. What was it? Nice? Pleasant? Those words felt absurdly insufficient for whatever had just happened. Emma stood, pulling on her inadequate coat. "Thank you for dinner. This was I had a good time. Let me give you a ride home." "That's okay. I'll just grab a cab." "Emma, it's late, it's snowing, and you live in the Bronx. I'm giving you a ride." She looked like she wanted to argue, then just nodded. "Okay. Thank you." James had the car waiting. Emma slid into the back seat and immediately touched everything: the leather interior, the temperature controls, the small screen showing the navigation system. "This is nicer than my apartment," she muttered. "Where in the Bronx?" James asked. Emma gave an address near Fordham Road. Adrian knew the neighborhood vaguely, working class, safe enough, but not the kind of place where someone who could afford otherwise would choose to live. They rode in silence for a while. Manhattan gave way to the Bronx. Buildings grew shorter, older. Streets emptied out. "Can I ask you something?" Emma said quietly. "Sure. Why were you really there tonight? And don't say because Marcus pushed you. You don't strike me as someone who does things he doesn't want to do." Adrian watched streetlights slide past the window. "Honestly, I thought I'd go, suffer through an awkward dinner and have an excuse to tell Marcus to stop trying. And now? Now I'm not sure." Emma turned to look at him. The dashboard lights caught her face in profile. "Not sure about what?" "Whether I want an excuse anymore." The car pulled up outside a narrow building with a corner bodega on the ground floor. Emma gathered her bag. "This is me," she said. "Thank you for everything. Dinner was amazing. The conversation was better. Can I see you again?" The words came out before Adrian could stop them. Emma froze with her hand on the door handle. "Are you serious?" she asked. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I want to. You don't know anything about me." "Not really. You don't know that I have $40,000 in student loans I'll probably never pay off. You don't know that my apartment has mice and my landlord won't fix the heat. You don't know that I'm a disaster at relationships and I overthink everything, and I know you care about your students more than your paycheck. I know you're honest, even when it would be easier not to be. I know you made me laugh for the first time in I don't know how long. Adrian paused. I'd like to know the rest. Emma stared at him. Snow had started falling harder, coating the windshield. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'd like that too. She fumbled in her bag and pulled out a slightly bent business card. My number's on there. Call me or text, whatever. Adrian took the card. Their fingers brushed. Emma pulled away quickly, opened the door, and stepped out into the snow. Good night, Adrian. Good night, Emma. He watched her hurry into the building, shoulders hunched against the cold. James pulled away from the curb. Nice woman, James observed. Yeah. Different from your usual type. Adrian didn't have a usual type anymore. He'd stopped having types when dating stopped being something he did. But James was right. Emma was different. She was real in a way that felt almost dangerous. No polish, no agenda, just a woman who said what she meant and meant what she said. His phone buzzed. Marcus. Well? How bad was it? Adrian typed back. It wasn't, 3 dots. Then, that's it? That's all I get? She's interesting. Interesting? Dude, I need details. Adrian pocketed his phone without responding. He wanted to keep this to himself for a while. This small, unexpected thing that had happened. This crack in the wall. When he got home, Mrs. Patterson was asleep on the couch. Adrian woke her gently. How was your evening? She asked, gathering her things. Good. Surprisingly good. You should do it more often, whatever it was. After she left, Adrian checked on Lily. Still asleep, still peaceful. He stood in her doorway and thought about Emma's classroom full of kids who needed someone to see them. About time you couldn't buy back. About choices you made and lived with. In his own room, he pulled out Emma's business card. Simple white cardstock, slightly worn at the edges. Emma Hayes, kindergarten teacher, with a phone number and email address. No fancy title, no corporate branding, just the facts. He set it on his nightstand and tried to sleep. Instead, he lay awake replaying the evening. The way Emma had laughed when the waiter brought the wine. The intensity in her voice when she talked about her students. The moment at the end when she'd asked why he wanted to see her again, and he'd given her the truth instead of something easier. Around 2 a.m., he finally drifted off, and for the first time in years, Adrian Cole smiled in his sleep. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold. Lily woke him at 7 by jumping on his bed. Daddy, it snowed! Can we build a snowman? Adrian groaned and pulled her down into a hug. After breakfast. You promised last time it snowed and then you had a work call. Not today. Today we're building a snowman. Lily squealed and ran downstairs. Adrian followed more slowly, still thinking about last night. About Emma. About the way she'd looked at him when he'd asked to see her again. Like she couldn't quite believe he was serious. He made pancakes while Lily narrated her week at school. Apparently someone named Tyler had eaten glue. Someone named Sophia could do a cartwheel. Her teacher, Miss Rodriguez, had read them a book about penguins. Dear Miss Weiss, Ichong. Did you know penguins mate for life? Lily asked through a mouthful of pancake. I did know that. That means they pick one penguin and stay with them forever, even when it gets hard. That's right. Why didn't you and Mommy do that? Adrian set down his fork. They'd had versions of this conversation before, but it never got easier. Sometimes people try really hard and it still doesn't work out. But you tried hard, right? I tried as hard as I knew how. Lily absorbed this. When I grow up, I'm going to be a penguin. Adrian couldn't help smiling. That's a good plan. After breakfast, they bundled up and went outside. The brownstone's small front yard had accumulated maybe 3 inches of snow. Not much, but enough for a modest snowman. Lily directed the operation with serious focus, while Adrian did most of the heavy lifting. It needs a face, Lily declared. They used rocks for eyes and buttons, a stick for the mouth. Lily insisted the snowman looked sad, so they adjusted it until she was satisfied. Now he's smiling, she said. Everyone should smile. Adrian thought about Emma again. About Marcus saying Lily had noticed he didn't smile anymore. Kids saw everything. Hey, Lily. Yeah? What if I had a friend? Someone I wanted you to meet sometime. Lily looked up sharply. What kind of friend? A lady friend. Like a girlfriend. Maybe? I don't know yet. Lily considered this seriously. Does she like penguins? I don't know. I could ask. Okay. If she likes penguins, I'll meet her. Adrian laughed. Deal. They spent the rest of the morning outside, then came in for hot chocolate. Adrian's phone had been buzzing periodically, but he ignored it. Whatever work needed him could wait. This time with Lily felt too important to interrupt. But eventually, Lily settled in front of the TV with a movie, and Adrian allowed himself to check his messages. Most were work-related. One was from Marcus asking for details, and one, sent an hour ago, was from an unknown number. Hi. This is Emma. Is this too soon to text? Probably too soon. Sorry. I just wanted to say thank you again for last night. Adrian stared at the message. Then he replied, Not too soon. I was going to text you later, but chickened out. Her response came quickly. You? Chickened out? I don't believe it. Believe it. I haven't done this in a while. Me neither. It's terrifying. Yeah. A pause. Then, are you busy right now? Adrian glanced at Lily, absorbed in her movie. Hanging out with my daughter. You? Grading papers and pretending my apartment is warmer than it actually is. Glamorous Saturday. The papers or the temperature? Both. Adrian smiled at his phone. Then he typed, What are you doing tomorrow? Tomorrow's Sunday. I sleep in, do laundry, prep for the week. Why? Want to get coffee? Bring your papers. I'll bring work. We can be boring together. A longer pause this time. Adrian waited, suddenly anxious. Okay, but somewhere low-key. I can't do fancy 2 days in a row. I know a place in Chelsea. It's a diner. Is that low-key enough? Perfect. What time? They agreed on 11. Adrian put his phone down and realized he was smiling again. Lily noticed. You look happy, she observed. Maybe I am. Is it because of the penguin lady? She's not. I don't know if she likes penguins yet. You should find out. It's important. Adrian pulled his daughter close. You're absolutely right. The rest of Saturday passed quietly. Adrian actually managed not to check his work email. He read to Lily before bed, then sat in his own room thinking about tomorrow. About coffee in a diner. About whether he was setting himself up for something he wasn't ready for. His phone buzzed around 10 p.m. I'm nervous about tomorrow, Emma had texted. Why? Because last night felt like a fluke. Like we were both on our best behavior, and tomorrow you'll realize I'm actually kind of a mess. Adrian typed carefully. I'm going to tell you something. Last night my daughter noticed I was smiling. She made a comment about it. That doesn't happen. So if you're a mess, you're the kind of mess that makes me smile. I'll take it. Her response was just a single emoji, a heart. Then immediately another text. Sorry, too much? Just right. Okay. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Adrian set the phone down and lay back against his pillow. Outside, the city hummed its endless rhythm. Somewhere out there, Emma was probably overthinking every word of their conversation, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. He was doing the same thing. The difference was, for the first time in 5 years, Adrian wasn't trying to talk himself out of it. He fell asleep thinking about coffee tomorrow, about whether Emma would bring those student papers, about the way she'd looked at him in the car when he'd said he wanted to know the rest. Morning would come soon enough, and with it, whatever happened next. Sunday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. Adrian woke at 6 out of habit, lay in bed until 7 trying to fall back asleep, then gave up and went for a run through Central Park. The cold bit at his face, his breath coming out in white clouds, but it helped quiet the anxious loop in his head. What was he doing? Emma was right to be nervous. Last night had been easy because it was contained. A single dinner, low stakes, no expectations beyond getting through it without embarrassing Marcus. But coffee was different. Coffee was deliberate. Coffee was him choosing to pursue something he'd spent 5 years avoiding. By the time he got home, Lily was up and demanding waffles. Mrs. Patterson wouldn't arrive until 1, which meant he had parenting duty until then. Adrian made waffles, supervised toothbrushing, and listened to a detailed explanation of why her friend Madison was wrong about unicorns. Daddy, you're not listening, Lily said. I am listening. Madison thinks unicorns are horses with horns. You think they're a completely different species. See? You weren't listening. I said Madison doesn't even believe they're real. Sorry, I'm distracted. Lily studied him with those sharp 5-year-old eyes that missed nothing. Is it because of the penguin lady? Her name is Emma, and maybe. Are you going to see her today? Yeah, for coffee. Is that like a date? Sort of. Lily absorbed this information while drowning her waffle in syrup. Okay, but if she doesn't like penguins, you shouldn't marry her. Adrian nearly choked on his coffee. Nobody's getting married. But if you did, if I did, I would definitely consult you on her penguin opinions first. That seemed to satisfy her. Adrian cleaned up breakfast, played 3 rounds of a card game he didn't understand the rules to, and tried not to watch the clock. At 12:30, Mrs. Patterson arrived. You look nervous, she observed. I'm meeting someone. The same someone from Friday? Word traveled fast, apparently. Yes? Mrs. Patterson smiled. Good. You should meet people. You spend too much time alone. I have Lily. You know what I mean. He did know. Adrian changed into jeans and a navy sweater, checked his reflection twice, felt ridiculous for checking, and headed out. The diner was a 20-minute walk from his brownstone. He could have driven, but he needed the time to think. Or stop thinking. He wasn't sure which. Emma was already there when he arrived, tucked into a corner booth with a stack of papers spread across the table. She wore jeans and an oversized sweater that looked like it had seen better days, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup again. She looked tired and real and nothing like the women who usually orbited his world. She glanced up when he approached, and her face did this complicated thing where she looked relieved and anxious at the same time. Hi, she said. Hi. How long have you been here? 20 minutes. I was early. I'm always early. She gestured at the papers. Brought my work, like you said. Adrian slid into the booth across from her. A waitress appeared almost immediately. Older woman, tired eyes, the kind of efficient that came from decades of refilling coffee cups. What can I get you? Just coffee for me, Adrian said. Same, Emma added. And maybe some toast, if that's okay? The waitress nodded and disappeared. Emma watched her go, then looked back at Adrian. I wasn't sure you'd actually show, she said. Why wouldn't I? Because this is weird, right? We barely know each other. You're this successful businessman, and I'm... She gestured vaguely at herself. This. You say that like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just... We're from different worlds, Adrian. Friday night was nice, but this is daylight. No wine, no fancy restaurant hiding the gaps. The coffee arrived. Emma wrapped her hands around the mug like she was trying to warm herself from the inside out. Adrian noticed her apartment hadn't gotten any warmer since yesterday. Do you want to leave? He asked quietly. No. Do you? No? Okay then. Emma took a breath. Sorry. I'm doing that thing where I overthink until I talk myself out of good things. Bad habit. I do the same thing, just usually about mergers instead of coffee. That got a small smile. How does someone overthink a merger? You run every scenario, model every outcome, try to control variables that can't be controlled. Then you do it anyway and hope you didn't miss something critical. Sounds exhausting. It is. Emma picked up a red pen and pulled one of her papers closer. Want to see something actually exhausting? Kindergarten writing samples. She showed him a piece of lined paper covered in oversized, shaky letters. The assignment had apparently been to write about their family. This particular kid had written, My family is big. I have 2 BRTR and 1 sister and a dog named Rocky. Rocky the dog, Adrian said. Rocky the dog, who according to this child can do math and makes better breakfast than mom. Emma marked a few corrections gently in red pen. This kid is brilliant, but he reverses his B's and D's. I've been working with him for months. Is it helping? Slowly. His parents don't speak much English, so I can't really communicate with them about strategies. But he's trying so hard. She set the paper aside. Sorry, you probably don't want to hear about my students. I do, actually. Emma looked skeptical. Really? Really? Tell me about them. So she did. She told him about the twins who were inseparable except when they fought, which was constantly. About the girl who only spoke in whispers but had the most elaborate imaginary world. About the boy whose parents were going through a divorce and how he'd started acting out. About budget cuts that meant no art supplies and broken tablets that never got replaced. Sometimes I want to shake the people making these decisions, Emma said. Come spend a day in my classroom. See what these kids need. See what they could be if someone just gave them a chance. Why don't you? What? Shake them. Not literally, but make them listen. Emma laughed, but it had an edge. Because I'm a first-year teacher in a low-income school. Nobody's listening to me. I'm just trying to survive until June. That's not true. Which part? The part where you think you're just surviving. You're changing lives. That kid with the B's and D's? He'll remember you. Years from now, he'll remember the teacher who didn't give up. Emma's eyes got suddenly bright. She looked away quickly, blinking. Sorry, people don't usually say things like that. Maybe they should. The toast arrived. Emma picked at it without eating. The diner hummed around them. The clatter of dishes, low conversations, the hiss of the grill. Normal Sunday morning sounds. Adrian felt more relaxed than he had in months. Tell me about your daughter, Emma said. You mentioned her yesterday, but then we got sidetracked. So Adrian told her about Lily's questions that he couldn't answer, about her obsession with reading, about single parenting and never quite feeling adequate, about the guilt of working too much and the fear of not providing enough. She asked me this morning if you like penguins, he said. Penguins? Apparently it's her measure of acceptable humans. Emma laughed, a real one this time. I love penguins. Tell her I love penguins. She also said if you don't like them, I shouldn't marry you. The words hung in the air. Emma's eyes went wide. She said that? She's 5. She has opinions. Adrian felt heat creep up his neck. I obviously told her nobody's getting married. Obviously. But Emma was smiling now. Though good to know I passed the penguin test. They talked through 2 more cups of coffee. Emma graded papers while Adrian answered work emails on his phone, and somehow the silence between conversations felt comfortable instead of awkward. Around 2, Emma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and winced. My landlord. 3rd time this week. About the heat? About the heat, the mice, the leak in the bathroom. Pick a problem. She typed back quickly. He'll ignore it like he ignores everything else. That's illegal. So is a lot of what he does, but I can't afford to move and he knows it. Emma put her phone away. It's fine. I have a space heater. I'm managing. Adrian wanted to say something, offer to help, make a call, do something, but he could see in Emma's face that she wouldn't accept it. She had that stubborn pride of someone who'd learned early that you couldn't rely on anyone but yourself. Can I ask you something personal? Emma said. Sure. Your ex-wife. You said she left when your daughter was a baby. That must have been brutal. Adrian took a long breath. He didn't talk about this. Ever. Not to Marcus, not to his therapist, not to anyone. But Emma was looking at him with those honest eyes, and he found himself wanting to tell the truth. We got married too young, he said. I was building the company. She wanted a different life than the one I could give her. When she got pregnant, we thought maybe it would fix things. It didn't. She stayed 6 months after Lily was born, then left, signed over custody, moved to California, sends a card on birthdays. That's it. Do you still love her? No, I don't think I ever really did. I think we love the idea of each other. Adrian turned his coffee mug in circles. The hard part isn't missing her. It's knowing I failed at something important, that I couldn't make it work. It takes 2 people to make a marriage work. Only takes 1 to end it. I know, doesn't always feel that way. Emma reached across the table and squeezed his hand briefly. For what it's worth, I think you're doing fine. Your daughter sounds happy, loved. That's what matters. You haven't met her yet. Yet? Emma raised an eyebrow. I mean, if you wanted to, eventually, not now, that would be too soon. Adrian was fumbling badly. I'm just saying. I know what you're saying. Emma's smile was soft. And yeah, eventually, I'd like that. The check came. Adrian grabbed it before Emma could protest. Outside, the temperature had dropped and the sky had that heavy gray quality that promised more snow. Emma pulled her inadequate coat tighter. Which way are you headed? Adrian asked. Subway. Back to the Bronx. Let me drive you. You've already driven me once. I can take the train. Emma. Adrian. It's cold, let me drive you. She looked like she wanted to argue, then just sighed. Okay, but this can't become a thing where you're always rescuing me. Noted. This is the last time. Liar. James had the car nearby. Emma slid into the back seat and immediately curled up against the heated leather. This is unfair, she muttered. I'm going to get used to this, and then my Civic's broken heater is going to feel even worse. I could look at your Civic. You know about cars? No, but I know people who do. Adrian. What? You're doing it again, the rescuing thing. Right. Sorry. They rode in silence for a while. The city slid past. Adrian found himself hyper-aware of the small distance between them on the seat, the way Emma's fingers tapped against her knee, the quiet sound of her breathing. Can I tell you something? Emma said suddenly. Anything. This terrifies me. You terrify me. Adrian turned to look at her. Why? Because you're successful and put together and you have your life figured out. And I'm barely keeping my head above water most days. My student loans are crushing me. My apartment is falling apart. I can't afford to replace my winter coat. She laughed, but it sounded fragile. What happens when you realize I'm a bad investment? You're not an investment. Everything's an investment to someone like you. The words stung because they weren't entirely wrong. Adrian had spent his adult life calculating risk and reward, measuring potential against cost. But Emma wasn't a merger. She wasn't a deal. She was... You're right, he said quietly. I do think that way. About business, about risk, but not about this. Then what is this? I don't know yet, but I want to find out. Emma studied his face. What if it doesn't work? What if we're too different? Then at least we tried. That's very optimistic for someone who just told me he models every possible failure scenario. Maybe you're making me optimistic. Emma smiled despite herself. That's the worst line I've ever heard. I know, I'm terrible at this. You really are. But she was still smiling when the car pulled up outside her building. This time, Adrian walked her to the door. The bodega was open, salsa music drifting out. Somewhere upstairs, someone was arguing in Spanish. Emma unlocked the outer door, then turned back. Thank you for today, and for Friday, and for not running away when I got weird. You weren't weird. I was definitely weird. Okay, you were a little weird. I liked it. Emma laughed. Then, before Adrian could process what was happening, she stood on her toes and kissed his cheek. Quick, light, gone before he could react. I'll text you, she said, and disappeared inside before he could respond. Adrian stood there a moment, hand against his cheek where her lips had been. Then he walked back to the car feeling like an idiot and not caring at all. The week that followed was strange. Adrian went to work, sat through meetings, negotiated contracts, and did all the normal things. But underneath it all was this constant awareness of his phone, of waiting for Emma to text, of hoping she would, and being terrified when she did. They texted sporadically. Emma sent him pictures of her students' artwork, chaotic explosions of color and enthusiasm. Adrian sent back photos of Lily's elaborate penguin drawings. It was casual, easy, except for the way Adrian found himself smiling at his phone during board meetings. Marcus noticed. You're different, he said on Wednesday, cornering Adrian in his office. I'm not different. You smiled at Jenkins today. You never smile at Jenkins. Nobody smiles at Jenkins. He made a funny joke. Jenkins has never made a funny joke in his life. This is about the teacher, isn't it? Emma. Adrian shuffled papers on his desk. We've gone out twice. It's not a thing. It's absolutely a thing. You like her. I barely know her. That's not an answer. Adrian set down the papers. Fine. Yes. I like her. She's different. Real. I don't know how to explain it. You don't have to explain it, just don't screw it up. Thanks for the vote of confidence. I'm serious. Marcus sat down across from him. You've been alone for 5 years. You deserve this. Don't self-sabotage. I won't. You're already thinking of 50 reasons why it won't work. He was. Adrian was already cataloging every difference, every potential conflict, every way this could go wrong. It was what he did, planned for failure so it hurt less when it came. But then his phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Just a photo of a kid's story about a dragon who was afraid of flying. And underneath, reminded me of you. Scared of taking off, but probably great once you do. Adrian stared at that message for a long time. On Thursday, Emma texted, "Random question. What are you doing Saturday night?" Adrian typed, "Nothing. Why?" "My school is having this fundraiser thing. It's small, boring. You probably have better things to do." "I don't have better things to do. You don't even know what it is yet." "Doesn't matter. I'll be there." A pause, then, "It's just a silent auction and some speeches. Very low key. You'd have to slum it in the Bronx." "I can handle the Bronx. Send me the details." "You're serious?" "Completely serious." Another pause, longer this time. "Okay. But don't say I didn't warn you." My principal gives long speeches. Saturday arrived cold and clear. Adrian spent the morning with Lily, took her to the park, listened to more theories about penguins. Around 4, he started getting ready. The fundraiser was at Emma's school, starting at 7. "Where are you going?" Lily asked, watching him button a dress shirt. "Remember I told you about Emma? I'm going to see her." "The penguin lady?" "Yes, the penguin lady." "Can I come?" "Not tonight, but maybe soon, if that's okay with you." Lily considered this. "Is she nice?" "Very nice." "Okay, you can keep seeing her." Adrian couldn't help smiling. "Thanks for the permission." The school was in a neighborhood Adrian rarely visited, working class, a mix of small shops and worn apartment buildings. Emma had sent the address. PS 342. The building looked like every public school built in the 70s. Brick, boxy, functional. Inside, the gym had been transformed with string lights and folding tables. Maybe 100 people milled around. Parents, teachers, a few local business owners. Adrian felt overdressed in his blazer and immediately self-conscious. Then he spotted Emma across the room, talking to an older Latina woman in a bright yellow dress. Emma wore a simple black dress that looked like she'd owned it for years, her hair down for once, minimal makeup. She looked nervous and beautiful and completely in her element. She saw him and her whole face changed. Relief mixed with something else. She excused herself and walked over. "You came," she said. "I said I would." "I know, but I thought maybe you'd—" She stopped. "You look really nice." "So do you." "This old thing, Target special from 3 years ago." "Still nice." Emma smiled, then glanced around. "Let me introduce you to some people, but I'm warning you, everyone's going to assume you're rich and hit you up for donations." "I am rich." "Right, forgot." She took his hand, casual and natural. "Come on." She introduced him to her principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, the woman in yellow who immediately launched into a passionate speech about literacy rates and funding cuts. Then the vice principal, the art teacher, the music teacher who worked 3 days a week, because that's all the budget allowed. Everyone was warm, genuine, and clearly struggling with resources Adrian could have funded with his lunch money. It was humbling in a way he hadn't expected. The auction started around 8. Tables displayed donated items, restaurant gift cards, artwork made by students, a weekend at someone's summer cabin. Nothing extravagant, nothing that would go for more than a few $100s. Adrian bid on everything Emma pointed out. A gift basket, a painting of the city skyline done by a 4th grader, a certificate for free pizza. He kept bidding until Emma pulled him aside. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Supporting your school. You're driving up prices. These people can't compete with you." "That's the point. The money goes to the school, right?" "Yes, but—" Emma looked torn. "This isn't about you showing off." "I'm not showing off. I'm contributing." "Adrian." "Emma, let me do this, please." She studied his face, then sighed. "Fine, but don't go crazy." He went a little crazy. By the end of the auction, he'd won 8 items and contributed probably $4,000 to a school that desperately needed it. Emma looked mortified and grateful in equal measure. Then the speeches started. Mrs. Rodriguez talked about their goals, their challenges, their dreams for the students. A parent spoke about how the school had helped her son learn English. And then Emma was called up. Adrian hadn't known she was speaking. Emma looked surprised too, like maybe she'd tried to get out of it. She walked to the microphone reluctantly, clutching a stack of note cards. "Hi," she said, and her voice cracked slightly. "Sorry, I'm not great at public speaking. Someone in the crowd shouted encouragement. Emma smiled. "I've only been teaching here for 1 year," she continued, "but it's been the most important year of my life. I get to work with 23 incredible kids who show up every day ready to learn, despite challenges that would break most adults. Some of them come to school hungry. Some have parents working multiple jobs. Some are learning English while trying to keep up with grade-level work." Her voice got stronger as she spoke. Adrian watched her transform from nervous to passionate. "These kids deserve better than what we can currently give them. They deserve libraries with enough books. They deserve art supplies and music classes and technology that works. They deserve teachers who aren't buying supplies out of their own pockets." Emma looked out at the crowd. "Every dollar we raise tonight goes directly to our students. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. These kids will remember." The applause was genuine and long. Emma stepped away from the microphone, looking flushed and relieved. When she made her way back to Adrian, he could see unshed tears in her eyes. "That was incredible," he said. "That was terrifying." "You were amazing." Emma laughed shakily. "I forgot half of what I wanted to say." "Didn't matter. You meant every word." The fundraiser wound down around 10. People started leaving, collecting their auction items, saying goodbyes. Emma helped clean up, and Adrian helped her, folding chairs and stacking tables alongside teachers who seemed surprised that he knew how to do manual labor. Finally, it was just Emma and Adrian standing in the parking lot. The temperature had dropped below freezing. Emma's breath came out in white clouds. "Thank you for coming," she said, "and for the donations. That was too generous." "It wasn't enough. It was $4,000. Your school needs more than that." Emma shook her head. "You can't just fix everything with money." "I know, but I can help." "Why?" "Because it matters to you, so it matters to me." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You're going to break my heart, aren't you?" The words hit Adrian like cold water. "What?" "I can feel myself falling for you. And that's stupid because we barely know each other. But you're kind, and you listen, and you showed up tonight when you could have been anywhere else." She wrapped her arms around herself. "And eventually you're going to realize I'm not worth the trouble, that I come with too much baggage and not enough to offer." "Emma." "No, let me finish. I need to say this before I lose my nerve." She looked at him directly. "I like you. A lot. More than I should after 2 dates. And that terrifies me because I'm not good at relationships. I overthink everything. I get in my own way. Adrian kissed her. He didn't plan it. He just stepped forward and kissed her, cutting off her spiral of self-doubt with the most honest thing he could think to do. Emma made a small surprised sound, then kissed him back. Her lips were cold but soft. She tasted like coffee and chapstick. When they pulled apart, Emma was staring at him. "What was that for?" she whispered. "Because you were wrong. About all of it." "Which part?" "The part where you think you're not worth it. You are. You're the most real person I've met in years, and if anyone's going to break someone's heart here, it's probably me." "Why would you break mine?" "Because I'm terrible at this, at letting people in, at trusting, at believing anything good can last." Adrian touched her face gently. "But I want to try. With you. If you'll let me." Emma's eyes were bright with tears that hadn't quite fallen. "Okay? Okay? Yeah, let's try. Let's be terrible at it together." Adrian kissed her again, softer this time. Somewhere in the distance, a car horn blared. The city hummed its endless rhythm. And for the first time in 5 years, Adrian let himself hope that maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. They stood there in that freezing parking lot until Emma started shivering too hard to ignore. Adrian drove her home, held her hand the whole way, and kissed her goodnight at her door like a teenager. When he got home, Lily was asleep and Mrs. Patterson was reading on the couch. "Good night?" she asked. "Yeah, really good." Adrian checked on Lily, brushed his teeth, and lay in bed replaying every moment. The kiss, the way Emma had looked at him, the feeling of her hand in his. His phone buzzed. "Emma." "I can't stop smiling like an idiot." He typed back. "Me too. This is going to get complicated, isn't it?" "Probably." "Good. I like complicated." Adrian set his phone down and stared at the ceiling. Complicated was right, but for the first time in a long time, complicated felt like something worth pursuing. The weeks that followed felt like standing on the edge of something Adrian couldn't quite name. Not falling, exactly. More like leaning forward and trusting that the ground would hold. He and Emma fell into a rhythm that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. Coffee on Wednesday mornings before she had to be at school. Dinner on Friday nights at places that didn't require reservations. Texts throughout the day, her sending photos of misspelled words that were somehow profound, him sending complaints about meetings that ran too long. Lily noticed the change immediately. "You're on your phone a lot," she said one morning over cereal. "Sorry, I'll put it away." "Is it the penguin lady?" Adrian set his phone down. "Her name is Emma, and yes." "When do I get to meet her?" "Soon, I promise." But soon kept getting pushed back because Adrian couldn't quite figure out how to make that introduction happen. Emma was important. Lily was everything. What if they didn't connect? What if Lily felt threatened? What if Adrian was forcing something that wasn't ready? "You're overthinking it," Marcus said during lunch the following Tuesday. "I'm not overthinking it. You've been talking about introducing them for 3 weeks. Just do it. Take them both to the zoo or something." "Lily hates the zoo." "Then take them somewhere Lily doesn't hate. You're the one making this complicated." Adrian knew Marcus was right, but knowing didn't make it easier. That evening, he brought it up with Emma during one of their phone calls. "I want you to meet Lily," he said. There was a pause. "Okay? You sound terrified." "I am terrified. What if she hates me?" "She won't hate you." "You don't know that. Kids are brutal. They can smell fear." Adrian laughed despite himself. "You teach kindergarten. You deal with kids all day." "Those are other people's kids. This is different. This is your daughter. This matters." "Exactly. Which is why I know you'll be great." Emma was quiet for a moment. "When?" "This Saturday? We could do something casual, maybe lunch." "Okay. Yeah, lunch is good. Casual is good." She paused. "What is she like?" "Penguins, reading, asking impossible questions." "That's not helpful. Just be yourself. That's all I need." Saturday morning, Adrian was more nervous than he'd been before any business deal. He changed shirts 3 times. Lily noticed. "Why are you being weird?" she asked. "I'm not being weird." "You're definitely being weird. Is Emma coming?" "Yes, we're having lunch. Remember I told you?" Lily studied him with those sharp eyes. "Are you worried I won't like her?" "A little." "That's silly. If you like her, I'll probably like her too." Adrian wished 5-year-old logic applied to adult situations. They were meeting at a pizza place in Midtown, neutral territory, loud enough that awkward silences wouldn't be too obvious. Emma was already there when they arrived, sitting in a corner booth looking like she might throw up. She stood when she saw them, smoothing down her sweater. "Hi." "Hi," Adrian said. "Emma, this is Lily." "Lily, this is Emma." Lily looked Emma up and down with the critical assessment only children could pull off. "Do you actually like penguins, or did my dad tell you to say that?" Emma blinked. "I actually like penguins. Did you know emperor penguins can dive over 1,500 feet deep?" "I did know that. Did you know the dad penguin keeps the egg warm while the mom goes to find food?" "I did. It's called brooding." Lily's face lit up. "Nobody ever knows that part." Just like that, the tension broke. They slid into the booth and ordered pizza, and Lily proceeded to quiz Emma on every penguin fact she knew. Emma held her own, adding details Lily hadn't heard before, asking questions that made Lily think. Adrian sat back and watched them, something tight in his chest loosening. "Your dad says you're really good at reading," Emma said after the pizza arrived. "I'm reading chapter books already. Miss Rodriguez says I'm advanced." "That's impressive. What are you reading now?" Lily launched into a detailed summary of some book about dragons. Emma listened with genuine interest, asking follow-up questions, treating Lily like her opinions mattered. Not the way adults usually talk to kids, patronizing and distracted, but like Lily was an actual person worth knowing. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said suddenly. "Sure." "Are you my dad's girlfriend?" Emma glanced at Adrian, who was suddenly very interested in his pizza. I guess. We haven't really put a label on it." "Do you want to be his girlfriend?" "Lily," Adrian said. "What? It's a normal question." Emma smiled. "Yeah, I want to be his girlfriend." "Okay, good, because he smiles more now, and I like it when he smiles." After lunch, they walked through Central Park even though it was cold enough that their breath fogged white. Lily ran ahead, then circled back, an endless loop of energy. Emma walked beside Adrian, their hands brushing occasionally but not quite holding. "That went better than I expected," Emma said quietly. "She likes you." "She's great, really smart. You're doing a good job." "I'm trying." Lily came running back. "Can we go see the Alice in Wonderland statue?" "Sure." They walked to the statue, Alice sitting on a giant mushroom, surrounded by bronze characters from the book. Lily immediately started climbing on it, explaining the story to Emma like she might not have heard it before. "She reads it to me," Lily said. "My dad. Every night. We're on our third time through." "Third time?" Emma looked at Adrian. "She likes the part with the Cheshire Cat." "Because he disappears, but his smile stays," Lily added. "That's the best part." They stayed at the park until Lily got too cold to ignore. Adrian suggested hot chocolate, and they found a small cafe nearby. Lily ordered the largest size with extra whipped cream and proceeded to get it all over her face. "You're a disaster," Adrian said, wiping her face with a napkin. "You love me anyway." "I do." Emma watched them with this soft expression Adrian couldn't quite read. When Lily excused herself to use the bathroom, Emma leaned across the table. "She's amazing," she said. "She is. And you're really good with her, the way you talk to her, the way you listen. It's—" Emma stopped. "My dad died when I was 8. I barely remember him being present, but I remember wishing he was. You're the kind of dad I wish I'd had." Adrian didn't know what to say to that. He just reached across the table and took Emma's hand. Lily came back and noticed immediately. "Are you guys being gross?" "Extremely gross," Emma said. "Okay, just checking." They dropped Emma off in the Bronx around 4. Lily hugged her goodbye without being prompted, which felt significant. Emma hugged back, careful and gentle, like she was afraid to break something precious. "Thank you for today," Emma said to Adrian. "Thank you for being patient with her." "Patient? She's the easiest kid I've met. You're raising a good human." After Emma disappeared into her building, Lily turned to Adrian. "I like her." "Yeah?" "Yeah, she's nice, and she knows a lot about penguins. And she didn't talk to me like I'm stupid. She wouldn't do that." "Some adults do, but not her." Lily buckled herself into her car seat. "You should keep her." Adrian smiled. "I'll try." But trying turned out to be more complicated than he'd anticipated. The next week, Marcus cornered him after a board meeting. "We need to talk about the Patterson merger," Marcus said. "What about it?" "Thompson's pushing back. He wants more control over the transition. It's going to get messy." Adrian rubbed his temples. The Patterson merger had been in the works for 18 months. It was supposed to be simple: acquire a struggling tech company, integrate their assets, streamline operations. But Thomas Patterson, the founder, was proving difficult. "Set up a meeting," Adrian said. "Let's handle it." The meeting happened on Thursday. Patterson was a man in his late 50s, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of ego that came from building something from nothing and refusing to admit when it was failing. He sat across from Adrian in the conference room and laid out his demands. "I want final say on all personnel decisions," Patterson said. "My team stays intact." "That's not realistic," Adrian replied. "We're integrating 2 companies. There will be redundancies." "Then the deal's off." "Thomas, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. You're trying to gut my company." The conversation devolved from there. 2 hours of back and forth that went nowhere. By the time Patterson left, Adrian had a headache and the distinct feeling that this was going to blow up in his face. That evening, Emma called. "How was your day?" she asked. "Long, complicated." "How was yours?" "One of my students bit another student over a crayon. So, typical Thursday." Adrian laughed despite everything. "Is the biter okay?" "The biter is fine. The bitey less so. I had to call both parents." Neither was happy. "I can imagine." "Want to talk about what made your day complicated?" So Adrian told her about the merger, about Patterson, about the stress of trying to save a company that didn't want to be saved. Emma listened without interrupting, asking clarifying questions when she needed to. "Sounds like he's scared," she said when Adrian finished. "Of what?" "Of losing control. Of becoming irrelevant. You're offering him a way to save his life's work, but he has to admit it's failing first. That's hard. Adrian hadn't thought of it that way. So what do I do? Give him something to control, something that matters to him but doesn't hurt your bottom line. Let him save face. It was good advice. Simple, but good. Adrian made a note to revisit the personnel clause with Patterson's team. You're smart, he said. I teach 5-year-olds. I'm basically a professional negotiator. Apparently. They talked until Emma had to go prep for the next day. After she hung up, Adrian sat in his quiet office thinking about how easy it was to talk to her, how she made complicated things feel manageable, how he was starting to rely on that. The thought scared him. Friday night, Adrian took Emma to dinner at a small Italian place in Brooklyn she'd mentioned wanting to try. It was the kind of restaurant with checkered tablecloths and wine in water glasses, run by someone's grandmother in the back. Emma ordered pasta and ate like she hadn't seen food in days. Sorry, she said, catching his look. I skipped lunch. Parent-teacher conferences ran late. Don't apologize. It's nice watching someone actually enjoy food. What does that mean? Most of the women I used to date picked at salads and drank wine. Emma set down her fork. Used to date? Before you. Adrian caught himself. I haven't dated seriously in years, but when I did. And how am I different from salad women? You're real. You order what you want. You don't perform. I can't afford to perform. This is just me. I know. That's why I like it. Emma smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Can I ask you something? Always. Where's this going? Us, I mean. Adrian set down his own fork. What do you mean? We've been seeing each other for over a month. I've met your daughter. You've integrated into my life. But we haven't talked about what we're actually doing here. What do you want to be doing? That's not an answer. Adrian took a breath. I don't know. I haven't thought past wanting to see you again. That's fair. But I need to know if this is casual or if you're actually considering something real. Because it feels real to me. And if it's not to you, I need to protect myself. It's real to me too. Then say it. Say what? That you want this, that I'm not just a distraction from your life. Adrian reached across the table and took her hand. You're not a distraction. I don't have words for what you are, but it's not casual. It's never been casual. Emma's eyes got bright. Okay. Okay? Yeah, I just needed to hear it. They finished dinner and walked along the Brooklyn waterfront. The city glittered across the water, 1,000 lights reflecting off the East River. Emma shivered despite her coat, and Adrian pulled her close. I'm falling for you, Emma said quietly. Just so you know. In case it wasn't obvious. It's obvious. Are you? Falling, Adrian thought about lying, about protecting himself, about all the reasons he should keep his walls up. Then he thought about Emma grading papers at his kitchen table, Emma making Lily laugh, Emma asking the questions that cut through his bullshit. Yeah, he said, I'm falling. Emma stopped walking and turned to face him. The wind whipped her hair around her face. She looked young and uncertain and braver than he'd ever been. This is going to get hard, isn't it? She said. Probably. I don't have anything to offer you. No money, no connections, nothing that makes sense for someone in your position. I don't want those things from you. Then what do you want? This, you, exactly as you are. Emma kissed him then, cold lips and warm breath, tasting like wine and pasta. When they pulled apart, she was smiling. Okay, let's do this for real. For real. They walked back to his car hand in hand, and Adrian felt something settle in his chest. A decision made. A bridge crossed. No going back now. The following Tuesday, everything changed. Adrian was in his office reviewing contracts when his assistant buzzed. Mr. Cole? There's a woman here to see you. She says it's urgent. I don't have any appointments. I know, but she's insistent. Her name is Victoria Cole. Adrian's blood went cold. Victoria, his ex-wife. The woman he hadn't seen or spoken to in nearly 5 years, except for the occasional birthday card for Lily. Send her in. Victoria entered looking exactly like he remembered. Tall, blonde, perfectly put together in a way that probably cost thousands of dollars. She'd always been beautiful in that calculated way, like she'd studied what beautiful was supposed to look like and executed it flawlessly. Hello, Adrian, she said. Victoria, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you about Lily. Adrian's stomach dropped. What about Lily? Can I sit? No, tell me what this is about. Victoria sighed. I want to see her. Absolutely not. Adrian, you left. You signed away custody. You don't get to just show up 5 years later and demand access. I'm not demanding, I'm asking. Victoria moved closer. I made mistakes. I was young, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know how to be a mother. But I've grown. I'm in therapy. I'm ready. Ready for what? To be in her life. To be her mother. Adrian laughed, bitter and sharp. You gave up that right. I never gave up being her mother. I just gave you custody. Because you didn't want her. Because I couldn't handle her then. That's different. Victoria's voice cracked slightly. I think about her every day. Wonder what she looks like, what she's interested in, if she's happy. I've stayed away because I thought that's what was best. But it's killing me. Adrian wanted to throw her out, tell her to leave and never come back. But something in her face stopped him. She looked genuinely devastated, not performing, actually broken. Why now? He asked. Because I can't keep living with this hole in my life. And because Lily deserves to know her mother, even if I was a terrible one. She doesn't ask about you. That's worse. Don't you see? She doesn't even know to miss me. What does that say about me? Adrian sat down heavily. This is a bad idea. Maybe. But can we at least talk about it? Really talk? He should have said no, should have called security, but instead he heard himself saying, fine, one conversation. But Lily doesn't know about this. Not until I decide if this is even worth considering. Victoria nodded. Thank you. They talked for 2 hours. Victoria explained how she'd left New York, moved to San Francisco, spent 3 years in intensive therapy dealing with postpartum depression she'd never acknowledged. She'd gotten her life together, built a career, and finally felt stable enough to face what she'd run from. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I don't even expect Lily to forgive me, but I need to try. She's 5, she's happy, she's stable. You coming back could destroy that. Or it could give her something she doesn't even know she's missing. After Victoria left, Adrian sat alone in his office feeling sick. He should call his lawyer, should shut this down immediately. But part of him wondered if Victoria was right. Did Lily deserve to know her mother, even one who'd abandoned her? That evening, he picked up Lily from school and took her for ice cream. She chattered about her day, something about building blocks and a class hamster. Adrian tried to focus, but his mind kept spinning. Daddy, you're not listening, Lily said. Sorry, sweetheart. Say it again. I said Miss Emma taught us about penguins today. She came to our class. Adrian's attention snapped back. Emma came to your class? Yeah. She brought books and pictures and everything. She told Miss Rodriguez we were friends and asked if she could do a special lesson. It was so cool. Did you like it? I loved it. Everyone thought it was amazing. Tyler asked if Miss Emma was my new mom. Adrian's chest tightened. What did you say? I said no, but that she's Dad's girlfriend and she's really nice. Lily took a bite of ice cream. That's okay, right? That I told them? That's fine. Some kids have stepmoms. I think it would be cool to have one. If it was Miss Emma. Adrian didn't know how to respond to that. How to reconcile Lily's easy acceptance of Emma with the bomb Victoria had just dropped. How to protect his daughter from complications she shouldn't have to deal with. That night, after Lily was asleep, he called Emma. Hey, she answered. Lily told you about the penguin lesson? She loved it, thank you. It was fun. Your daughter's a superstar, by the way. All the other kids look up to her. Emma, something happened today. His tone must have conveyed the seriousness because Emma went quiet. What? So Adrian told her about Victoria showing up, about her wanting to be in Lily's life, about his complete inability to know what to do. That's a lot, Emma said when he finished. Yeah. What are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to tell her to disappear and never come back, but part of me wonders if Lily deserves the chance to know her mother. What does your gut say? My gut says protect Lily at all costs, but I'm too close to this. I can't think clearly. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Can I say something that might be hard to hear? Please. I think you should let her try. Not immediately, not without clear boundaries, but eventually. Why? Because Lily's going to grow up, and one day she's going to ask about her mom. And if you tell her that her mother wanted to know her, and you said no, that's going to hurt. But if you can say you gave her mother a chance, that you tried, then at least you did everything you could. Adrian closed his eyes. What if Victoria hurts her? Then you step in, you protect her, but you can't protect her from every possible hurt. Sometimes you have to let people try. When did you get so wise? I work with kids, remember? I see what happens when adults let their own pain make decisions for children. It's never good. Adrian lay back on his bed. I don't want to do this. I know. But I think you're right. Unfortunately. They talked until nearly midnight. Emma asked good questions, pointed out things Adrian hadn't considered, and never once made him feel stupid for being conflicted. By the time they hung up, Adrian had a plan. He talked to his lawyer, set up clear boundaries, and if Victoria could demonstrate consistency over several months, maybe they'd try supervised visits. Maybe. The next morning, Adrian called Victoria and laid out the terms. She agreed to everything without hesitation. It felt too easy, which made Adrian nervous. But he'd committed to trying, so he'd try. He didn't tell Lily, not yet, not until he knew Victoria would follow through. The weeks that followed were strange. Adrian went through the motions, work, parenting, time with Emma. But underneath everything was this constant anxiety about Victoria. She checked in weekly, updating him on her therapy progress, sending photos of herself doing normal things like she was proving she was stable. Emma was his anchor through it all. She came to dinner at his place on Wednesdays, helped Lily with homework, and never pushed for more than Adrian could give. She understood boundaries in a way that made him trust her more. One evening in mid-December, Adrian found Emma and Lily making cookies in his kitchen. They were covered in flour, laughing about something, working together with an ease that looked effortless, but Adrian knew was anything but. We're making penguins, Lily announced. Miss Emma showed me how. The cookies were misshapen and imperfect and absolutely covered in too much frosting. They were perfect. Can she stay for movie night? Lily asked. Adrian looked at Emma. Do you want to? If that's okay. So they watched some animated movie about talking animals. Lily curled between them on the couch. Halfway through, she fell asleep. Emma carefully shifted her so her head was on Adrian's lap. She's out, Emma whispered. Long day. They watched the rest of the movie in comfortable silence. When it ended, Adrian carried Lily upstairs and tucked her in. When he came back down, Emma was cleaning up the cookie mess. You don't have to do that, he said. I know, but I made the mess. Adrian came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. Emma leaned back into him. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For being patient, for being here, for not running when things got complicated. Things were always going to get complicated. That's life. Still, you could have left. Emma turned in his arms. I'm not leaving, not unless you want me to. I don't want you to. Then I'm staying. She kissed him, soft and sure, and Adrian felt something settle deep in his chest. This was real. Whatever happened with Victoria, whatever complications came next, Emma was here, choosing him, choosing them. Later that night, after Emma had gone home, Adrian's phone buzzed with an email. The subject line made his stomach drop. Time to talk. VC. He opened it reluctantly. Victoria had sent a long message about being ready for the next step, about wanting to meet Lily, about how she'd been consistent for 2 months and felt prepared. Adrian stared at the email for a long time. Then he forwarded it to his lawyer with a single question. Is she ready? The response came the next morning. Only one way to find out. So Adrian made the call, told Victoria they could meet. One supervised visit, somewhere neutral, and if it went well, they'd discuss next steps. He still didn't tell Lily. He wanted to wait until the last possible moment to spare her the anxiety of anticipation, but the weight of the secret sat heavy on his chest. That Friday, Emma noticed something was off. Talk to me, she said over coffee. So Adrian told her about agreeing to the meeting, about his fear that he was making a terrible mistake, about the possibility that this could shatter Lily's world. When? Emma asked. Next Saturday, at a park. 1 hour. Do you want me there? Adrian looked at her in surprise. Would you do that? If you need me, yes. It might be awkward. I don't care. If you need support, I'm there. Adrian reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Okay, yes, I'd like that. The days leading up to Saturday crawled by. Adrian was distracted at work, short-tempered at home, anxious in a way he couldn't shake. On Friday night, he finally told Lily. They were reading before bed when he brought it up. Hey, sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something. Lily set down her book. What? Do you remember your mom? Lily's face went carefully blank. No. Well, she wants to meet you. She's been working really hard to be ready, and tomorrow we're going to see her, just for a little while. Why? Because she's your mom, and she loves you, and she wants to know you. Does she have to? The question broke Adrian's heart. No. If you don't want to, we don't have to, but I think maybe it would be good to try. Lily was quiet for a long time. Will you be there? The whole time. And Miss Emma? She'll be there too if you want. Okay. Then I'll try. Saturday arrived gray and cold. They met at a small park in Manhattan, away from anywhere Lily normally went. Victoria was already there, sitting on a bench, looking more nervous than Adrian had ever seen her. Emma held Lily's hand as they approached. Victoria stood when she saw them, and for a moment nobody moved. Then Victoria knelt down to Lily's level. Hi, Lily. I'm Victoria. I'm your mom. Lily stared at her. You left. Victoria's face crumpled. I did. And I'm so sorry. Why did you leave? Because I was scared and sick and didn't know how to be a good mom to you, but I should have stayed. I should have tried harder. Are you going to leave again? I hope not. I'm going to try really hard not to. Lily considered this. Then she said, Do you like penguins? Victoria looked confused. Penguins? It's important. Yes, I like penguins. Okay, you can stay then. And just like that, the tension broke slightly. They sat on the bench, Emma and Adrian on either side, Victoria and Lily in the middle. They talked about small things, school, books, favorite colors. Victoria was careful, gentle, clearly terrified of saying the wrong thing. After an hour, Lily had warmed up slightly. Not much, but enough that when Victoria asked if they could meet again, Lily said, okay. They said goodbye, and Victoria hugged Lily carefully. Thank you for giving me a chance, she whispered. On the drive home, Lily was quiet. Emma sat in the back with her, holding her hand. Finally, Lily spoke. She seems nice. She does, Adrian agreed. But you're still my dad, right? She doesn't get to take you away? Adrian pulled over immediately, turned around to face her. Nothing and nobody will ever take me away from you. You're my whole world. You always will be. Promise? I promise. Lily nodded, satisfied. Emma caught Adrian's eye and mouthed, You okay? He nodded, but he wasn't sure it was true. The ground had shifted under him, and he wasn't sure where it would settle. That night, after Lily was asleep, Emma stayed. They sat on Adrian's couch, her curled against him, both of them exhausted. That was intense, Emma said. Yeah. How are you feeling? Terrified, relieved, angry, grateful, all of it. Emma tilted her head up to look at him. You did good today. You protected her, but you gave Victoria a chance. That took courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. Adrian kissed the top of her head. Thank you for being there. Always. They sat in silence, the city humming outside, and Adrian tried to imagine what came next. More visits with Victoria, more complications, more chances for everything to fall apart. But Emma was here, solid and real, and choosing to stay despite everything. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that would have to be enough. The visits with Victoria continued through December, each one slightly less awkward than the last. Lily remained cautious but curious, asking questions Victoria sometimes struggled to answer. Adrian supervised every interaction, watching for signs that his daughter was being hurt or confused. So far, she seemed okay, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were all walking on glass. 3 days before Christmas, everything shattered. Adrian was in a late meeting when his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him look. The message contained a single photo. Adrian and Emma. leaving her building, his arm around her waist, her face turned up to his, clearly mid-laugh. The photo was grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakably them, unmistakably intimate. His phone buzzed again, another photo. Emma getting into his car, another of them at a restaurant, visible through the window. Then a message. Interesting relationship for a CEO. Wonder what the board would think about you dating a poverty line teacher, or what a family court judge would think about your daughter being around her. Adrian's blood went ice cold. He excused himself from the meeting and called his head of security immediately. I need you to trace a number, he said, reading it off. What's this about? Someone's following me, taking pictures, making threats. I'll get on it. Adrian called Emma next. She answered on the second ring, slightly breathless. Hey, I'm just leaving school. What's up? Where are you right now? Walking to my car. Why? You sound weird. Go back inside. Stay with other people. I'm sending someone to pick you up. Adrian, you're scaring me. What's happening? He told her. About the photos. About the implied threat. Emma was quiet for a long moment. This is about us? She finally said. Apparently. Who would do this? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Adrian sent his driver to get Emma, told her to go to his place, and called his lawyer. By the time he got home 2 hours later, Emma was sitting on his couch looking shell-shocked. Did they trace the number? She asked. Burner phone. Dead end. Adrian sat down heavily beside her. But my lawyer thinks this is about money. Someone trying to leverage me. Or Victoria. Adrian had thought the same thing. Maybe, but why? She's been cooperative. This doesn't fit. Unless she's playing a longer game. Mrs. Patterson had already taken Lily to her place for the night, sensing something was wrong. Adrian was grateful. He didn't want his daughter anywhere near this mess until he understood it. His phone rang. Marcus. Did you get the same message I did? Marcus asked without preamble. Adrian's stomach dropped. What message? Anonymous email. Photos of you and Emma. A very detailed explanation of how bad it would look for coal industries if their CEO was caught in an inappropriate relationship with someone so far below his tax bracket. Their words, not mine. When did you get this? 20 minutes ago. It went to the entire board. Adrian closed his eyes. How bad? Bad enough that Morrison called me immediately. He wants an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. After Marcus hung up, Adrian just sat there. Emma was watching him with growing alarm. What did he say? She asked. Someone sent the photos to my board. They're calling it inappropriate, trying to make it look like I'm exploiting you, or... He couldn't finish the sentence. Exploiting me? Emma's voice went sharp. We're two adults in a relationship. I know that. You know that. But whoever's doing this is spinning a narrative. Rich CEO, poor teacher, power imbalance. They're going to make this ugly. Emma stood up, pacing. This is because of me. Because I don't fit in your world. That's not true. It absolutely is true. If you were dating someone from your circle, this wouldn't be happening. You don't know that. Emma turned to face him. Yes, I do. I've been fooling myself thinking this could work. But your world and mine? They don't mix. And now someone's weaponizing that against you. Emma, I should go. No, stay, please. But Emma was already grabbing her coat. I need to think. I need to figure out if I'm strong enough for this. For what? For being the liability in your life. She left before Adrian could stop her. He sat alone in his empty apartment, listening to the silence and felt everything he'd built with Emma crumbling. The board meeting the next morning was brutal. Morrison opened with the photos, projected on a screen for everyone to see. Adrian sat there, jaw tight, while they discussed his personal life like it was a quarterly earnings report. This looks bad, Adrian, Morrison said. The optics are terrible. My relationship with Emma Hayes is consensual, appropriate, and none of the board's business. It becomes our business when someone's threatening to go public, when they're implying impropriety. There is no impropriety. Then who's sending these messages, and why? Adrian didn't have an answer. His security team was still investigating, but so far they'd found nothing. Whoever was behind this knew how to cover their tracks. I need you to end this relationship, Morrison said finally. At least publicly, until this blows over. Absolutely not. Adrian, be reasonable. Your reputation affects this entire company. If this becomes a scandal, let it become a scandal. I'm not ending things with Emma because someone's trying to manipulate me. The meeting ended badly. Adrian left feeling like he'd won the battle, but might lose the war. If whoever was behind this went public, if they fed the story to the right media outlets, it could damage the company. And that meant jobs, employees, people who depended on coal industries staying solvent. He tried calling Emma multiple times. She didn't answer. By evening, he drove to the Bronx and knocked on her door. No answer. He tried the bodega downstairs. The owner said he hadn't seen her all day. Adrian was about to leave when his phone rang. Victoria. "We need to talk," she said. Not now." "Yes, now. This is important." They agreed to meet at a coffee shop near Adrian's office. Victoria was already there when he arrived, looking agitated. "I know who's sending the photos," she said as soon as he sat down. Adrian leaned forward. "Who?" "My boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, Richard." Victoria twisted her hands together. "He knew I was trying to get back into Lily's life. He had this idea that if he could prove you were an unfit parent, it would help my custody case." "What custody case? There is no custody case." "I know that, but Richard didn't understand. He's a lawyer. He thinks everything is a case. When I told him I just wanted to meet Lily, he started building this whole strategy. I didn't know until yesterday when he told me what he'd done." Adrian felt rage building in his chest. "He's been following me, threatening Emma, trying to destroy my reputation." "Yes, and I'm so sorry. I ended things with him immediately. I told him to stop, but he said it's too late, that he's already set things in motion." "What things?" "He sold the story to a tabloid. It's running tomorrow. About you and the teacher. He framed it as a powerful CEO taking advantage of a vulnerable woman. Made it sound predatory." Adrian's vision blurred. "You need to stop this." "I'm trying. I went to the tabloid, told them it was all lies, but they said the story's already printed. It goes out tomorrow morning." "Then get your boyfriend to retract it." "He won't. He thinks he's protecting me, protecting Lily." Victoria's voice broke. "I never wanted this. I just wanted to know my daughter, and now I've ruined everything." Adrian stood up. "Fix this. I don't care how. But you fix this or I will make sure you never see Lily again." He left Victoria crying in the coffee shop and went straight to his lawyer's office. They spent 3 hours drafting cease and desist letters, preparing for litigation, trying to contain damage that was already spreading. By the time Adrian got home, it was past midnight. He tried Emma one more time. This time, she answered. "I saw the preview," she said quietly. "The story. It's already online." "Emma, they're calling me a gold digger, saying I targeted you, that I'm using you to get out of poverty." "None of that is true." "I know, but it doesn't matter, does it? The truth doesn't matter when the story's better." Adrian sat down on his couch, exhausted beyond measure. Victoria's boyfriend did this. He was trying to help her custody case by making me look bad. She's trying to stop it, but it's too late. "Yeah." Emma was quiet for a long time. "I can't do this, Adrian." "Don't say that." "I have to. My principal called me today, said parents are asking questions, wondering if I'm appropriate around their children because of my relationship with you. I could lose my job." "I'll fix this. I'll make a statement. You can't fix it. This is what happens when people from different worlds try to force something that doesn't fit." "We do fit." "We don't. Not really. I've been pretending we could make it work, but your world is always going to see me as less, as not enough. And I can't live like that." "Emma, please. I need time to think, to figure out if I'm strong enough for this." "You are strong enough." "Maybe, but I need to decide that for myself." She paused. "I'm sorry, Adrian. I really am." She hung up. Adrian tried calling back, but she didn't answer. He sat in his dark apartment, the city lights glittering through the windows, and felt more alone than he had in years. The story ran the next morning. It was worse than he'd imagined. Photos of him and Emma, quotes from anonymous sources claiming she'd targeted him deliberately, implications of impropriety. They'd even found Emma's student loan debt and published it, framing her as desperate and opportunistic. Adrian's phone exploded with calls, media outlets wanting statements, board members demanding explanations, Marcus calling to check if he was okay. He wasn't okay. Around noon, his security chief called. We found Richard Carlson. He's willing to talk. Adrian went to the meeting with his lawyer. Carlson was a slick-looking man in his 40s, clearly used to winning. He sat across from Adrian with barely concealed smugness. You destroyed my relationship, Adrian said. I protected a mother's rights. Your relationship was collateral damage. My relationship was none of your business. It became my business when it affected my client's ability to see her child. Adrian's lawyer stepped in. Mr. Carlson, you do realize you've committed multiple crimes: stalking, harassment, defamation. Good luck proving that. We have Victoria's testimony. She's willing to testify that you acted without her knowledge or consent. That wiped the smugness off Carlson's face. She wouldn't. She already has. Signed statement in front of a notary this morning. Adrian leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to contact every outlet that ran your story. You're going to admit you fabricated evidence and presented speculation as fact. You're going to make it clear that Emma Hayes is a victim of your harassment, not a gold digger. And if I don't, then I bury you. Criminal charges, civil suits. By the time I'm done, you won't be able to practice law anywhere in this country. Carlson looked between Adrian and his lawyer, clearly calculating odds. Finally, he said, Fine, I'll make a statement. Today. The retraction went out that afternoon. Carlson admitted to fabricating parts of the story, to harassing Adrian and Emma, to acting without his client's knowledge. It didn't undo the damage completely, but it helped. Emma still wouldn't answer Adrian's calls. On Christmas Eve, Adrian sat in his living room with Lily, trying to be present while his mind was miles away. They'd put up a tree, hung stockings, gone through all the motions, but Lily could tell something was wrong. Where's Miss Emma? She asked. She's spending Christmas with her family. Why isn't she here? She's basically family. Adrian didn't know how to answer that. It's complicated, sweetheart. Did you have a fight? Sort of. You should apologize. That's what you always tell me to do when I fight with someone. I tried. She won't talk to me. Lily climbed into his lap, her small arms wrapping around his neck. Then you need to try harder. She makes you happy, and she makes me happy, so you have to fix it. I don't know if I can. Yes, you can. You're my dad. You can fix anything. Adrian hugged his daughter close, wishing her faith in him was justified. Christmas morning came gray and cold. Lily opened presents with forced enthusiasm, clearly disappointed that Emma wasn't there. Adrian went through the motions, smiling when appropriate, but his heart wasn't in it. Around 11, his phone rang. Emma. He answered so fast he nearly dropped it. Hello? Merry Christmas, she said quietly. Merry Christmas. I saw the retraction, Carlson's statement. Yeah, it doesn't fix everything, but it helps. My principal called. Said the parent complaint stopped. I'm not losing my job. That's good. Really good. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Emma said, I've been doing a lot of thinking. Adrian's chest tightened. And I'm scared, terrified actually, of what being with you means, of the scrutiny and the judgment and the possibility that someone will always see me as not good enough. Emma, let me finish. I'm scared. But I'm more scared of losing you, of walking away from something real because it's hard. She took a shaky breath. I love you, Adrian. I've loved you for weeks now, and I've been too afraid to say it. But I'm saying it now. I love you. Adrian's eyes burned. I love you too. Even though I'm a mess? Even though I come with complications? Especially because of that. You're real, Emma. You're the realest thing in my life. Then we need to talk. Really talk. About what this means. About how we navigate your world without losing ourselves. When? Now. Can I come over? Please. Emma arrived an hour later. Lily answered the door and immediately threw her arms around Emma's waist. You came, Lily said. I told Dad you would. Yeah, well, your dad's pretty persuasive. Emma caught Adrian's eye over Lily's head. They spent Christmas together, the three of them. It wasn't perfect. There was still tension, still uncertainty about what came next. But it was real. Emma helped Lily build an elaborate penguin habitat out of blocks. Adrian made hot chocolate. They watched a movie and ate too much pie. After Lily went to bed, Emma and Adrian finally talked. I need you to understand something, Emma said. I can't change who I am. I can't suddenly become comfortable in your world. I'm always going to be the teacher who shops at Target and drives a beat-up Honda. I don't want you to change. But your world is going to keep pushing back. People like Carlson who think I'm not good enough. Board members who see me as a liability. Parents who judge me for being with you. Then we deal with it, together. It's not that simple. It is that simple. Either we're in this together or we're not. Either we fight for it or we give up. Adrian took her hands. I'm choosing to fight, but I need to know you're choosing that too. Emma looked at their joined hands. What about Victoria? What about Lily? Victoria made a mistake trusting Carlson, but she ended it. She's trying to make it right. As for Lily, she loves you. You've been more of a mother to her in 3 months than Victoria was in the first 6 months of her life. That's not fair to Victoria. Maybe not, but it's true. Emma was quiet for a long time. Okay. Okay? Yeah, I'm choosing to fight. I'm choosing us. She looked up at him. But I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll be honest about the hard stuff, about when this gets too complicated or when I don't fit or when the board is pushing back. Don't protect me from it. Just tell me the truth. I promise. And promise me you won't try to fix everything. I need to fight my own battles sometimes, even when you could make them easier. That's harder, but okay. I promise. Emma leaned forward and kissed him. Soft at first, then deeper. When they pulled apart, she was smiling. So what now? She asked. Now we figure it out, one day at a time. That's very zen for a CEO who plans everything. You're making me spontaneous. That's terrifying. Adrian laughed. For both of us. They sat together on the couch, Emma curled against him, watching snow fall outside the windows. The city was quiet, Christmas lights twinkling in the distance. For the first time in days, Adrian felt like he could breathe. His phone buzzed, a text from Victoria. I know I have no right to ask, but can I see Lily tomorrow? I got her a Christmas present. I understand if you say no. Adrian showed Emma the message. What do you think? I think she's trying. I think she made mistakes, but she's owning them. And I think Lily deserves to have her mother in her life if Victoria can be consistent. Even though it's complicated, everything worth having is complicated. Adrian texted back. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 hours. My place. Emma will be there too. Victoria's response came quickly. Thank you. I won't mess this up. They'd see about that. But for now, Adrian was choosing to believe people could change, that Victoria could become the mother Lily deserved, that Emma could handle his complicated world, that he could be the partner Emma needed. He was choosing to believe in second chances. Later that night, after Emma had gone home, Adrian checked on Lily. She was asleep, clutching her stuffed penguin. He sat on the edge of her bed and watched her breathe, this perfect small human he'd somehow helped create. I'm trying, sweetheart, he whispered, to give you a good life, to give you love, to not screw this up too badly. Lily stirred but didn't wake. Adrian kissed her forehead and left quietly. In his own room, he lay awake thinking about everything that had happened. The threats, the tabloid story, Emma almost walking away. How close he'd come to losing everything that mattered. But they'd survived. Barely, but they had. His phone lit up with one last message from Emma. Thank you for fighting for us. I love you. Adrian typed back. I love you too, always. He set the phone aside and finally fell asleep. Tomorrow would bring more complications. Victoria's visit, questions about the future, the ongoing challenge of blending his world with Emma's. But tonight, he had this. Love and hope, and the belief that maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. That would have to be enough, because it was all he had, and it was everything. Victoria arrived the next afternoon carrying a wrapped gift that looked expensive and a nervous expression that looked genuine. Emma opened the door, and for a moment the two women just stared at each other, the mother who'd left and the woman who'd stepped in without being asked. Hi, Victoria said finally. Hi, come in. Adrian was in the living room with Lily, who'd been asking questions all morning about why her birth mother was coming back. He tried to explain without making promises he couldn't keep, and now his daughter sat on the couch looking small and uncertain. Victoria walked in and stopped. "Lily, you've gotten so big." "I'm 5.5 now." "I know, I missed your half-birthday." Victoria's voice cracked. "I've missed a lot." Lily looked at Adrian, who nodded encouragement. Then she looked at Emma, who smiled gently. Finally, Lily looked back at Victoria. "You can sit down if you want," Lily said. They sat awkwardly, adults trying to navigate a situation none of them had a manual for. Victoria gave Lily the present, an expensive educational toy that Lily thanked her for politely, but without real enthusiasm. Then they tried to talk, but the conversation kept stalling. Finally, Lily said, "Can I ask you something?" "Anything," Victoria said. "Why did you leave me?" The room went dead silent. Adrian started to intervene, but Emma put a hand on his arm, stopping him. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "Because I was sick. Not like with a cold or flu. Sick in my head. After you were born, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even look at you without feeling like I was drowning. And instead of asking for help, I ran away." "But you're better now?" "I'm working on being better, every day. But there are still hard days." Lily absorbed this. "My friend Tyler's mom is sick too. She has to take special medicine. I take medicine too, and I talk to a doctor who helps me understand my feelings." "That's good." Lily paused. "Are you going to stay this time?" "I want to, if you'll let me, but I understand if you don't want me around. I understand if you have a different mom now." Victoria glanced at Emma. "Miss Emma isn't my mom," Lily said. "She's Dad's girlfriend, but she's nice. She teaches me about penguins." Emma smiled despite the tension. "Penguins are very important." "The most important," Lily agreed. Then she looked at Victoria. "You can visit sometimes, but you have to keep coming. You can't leave again." "I promise I'll try my hardest not to." Okay, it wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was a start. They spent another hour together, the conversation gradually becoming less forced. When Victoria left, she hugged Lily carefully, like she was afraid of breaking her. "Thank you for giving me a chance," Victoria whispered. After she was gone, Lily climbed into Emma's lap. "That was weird." "Yeah, it was. But she seems like she's trying." "She does." Lily looked up at Emma. "You're not going anywhere, right? Even if she keeps visiting?" Emma hugged her tighter. "I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "Promise." Adrian watched them together and felt something settle in his chest. This wasn't the family he'd planned for. It was messier, more complicated, held together by choice rather than biology. But it was real. And maybe that mattered more than perfect. The weeks after Christmas brought a strange kind of peace. Victoria visited twice a week, always supervised, always careful. Lily warmed to her slowly, asking questions, testing boundaries, trying to figure out where this woman fit in her life. It wasn't smooth, but it was progress. Work stabilized after the Carlson scandal. The board backed off once the retraction ran. The Patterson merger finally closed after Adrian gave Thomas more control over personnel decisions, just like Emma had suggested. Marcus kept making jokes about Adrian getting soft, but there was pride in his voice when he said it. And Emma. Emma became part of the fabric of Adrian's life in ways he hadn't anticipated. She came to dinner 3 nights a week, helped Lily with homework, left books scattered around his apartment. Her toothbrush appeared in his bathroom. Her terrible Civic became a permanent fixture in his garage after the transmission finally died, and he'd insisted on fixing it. "You're doing it again," she said when he told her the car was ready. "Doing what?" "Trying to fix everything." "It's just a transmission." "It's never just a transmission with you." But she was smiling when she said it, and she let him fix the car, and Adrian was learning that sometimes letting people help you was its own kind of strength. In February, Emma's school announced they'd received a major anonymous donation, enough to hire a full-time art teacher, update their technology, and stock the library. Emma knew immediately who was behind it. "Adrian," she said when she came over that night. "What?" "You donated to my school." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. That kind of money doesn't just appear." Adrian tried to look innocent. "Maybe you have a secret admirer." "Adrian Cole, you are the worst liar I've ever met." He gave up. "Fine. Yes, I donated. Because your students deserve it. Because you deserve to teach without spending your own money on supplies. Because I can afford it, and they need it. Emma looked at him for a long moment. Then she kissed him. Thank you, but you can't keep doing this without telling me. Why not? Because we're supposed to be partners. Partners talk about things. Even good things? Especially good things. So Adrian started telling her about the literacy programs he was funding, about the scholarship he'd set up for students from Emma's school, about the foundation he was starting to support teachers in low-income districts. Emma listened, asked questions, and gradually became involved in the planning. You're good at this, Adrian said one evening as they reviewed grant applications together. At what? Seeing what people need, cutting through bureaucracy to what actually matters. That's just teaching. You learn to see past what people say to what they mean. You should do this full time. Emma looked up sharply. What? Run the foundation. You understand the problems better than anyone I could hire. You know how to talk to teachers, to administrators, to parents. You'd be incredible. I can't leave my classroom. Why not? Because those kids need me. Other kids need you too, thousands of them. You could help teachers across the city instead of just one classroom. Emma set down the grant application. That's terrifying. Most good things are. I'd have to learn everything. Grant writing, nonprofit management, fundraising. So you'd learn. You're the smartest person I know. Emma was quiet for a long time. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. She took 3 weeks. Then she came to Adrian with a proposal. She'd transition to the foundation at the end of the school year, giving her current class time to adjust and her principal time to find a replacement. Adrian agreed immediately and started the hiring process for her. Marcus thought it was the best decision Adrian had made in years. She's going to be amazing at this, Marcus said over lunch. I know. And you get to work together. That doesn't worry you? Why would it worry me? Because mixing business and personal is usually a disaster. Adrian thought about that. Maybe with other people. But Emma and we argue about the right things. She pushes back when I'm wrong. She doesn't let me get away with bullshit. That's because she's not afraid of you. No one should be afraid of their partner. Marcus smiled. Look at you, getting all evolved. Don't tell anyone, it'll ruin my reputation. In March, Lily asked if Emma could come to her school's parent-teacher conference instead of Adrian. Why? Adrian asked, trying not to feel hurt. Because you always ask about grades and reading levels. Miss Emma asks about whether I'm happy. I care if you're happy. I know, but you're my dad. You have to care. Miss Emma cares even though she doesn't have to. That's different. So Emma went to the conference. Lily's teacher, Miss Rodriguez, talked about how well Lily was doing academically, but how she sometimes seemed lonely despite being surrounded by other kids. She's very mature for her age, Miss Rodriguez said. Sometimes I think she feels different from the other children. She is different, Emma said. She's brilliant and curious, and she's been through more than most kids her age. But that doesn't mean she has to be lonely. They talked about strategies, encouraging Lily to join group activities, setting up playdates, helping her find kids who shared her interests. Emma took notes and asked thoughtful questions. When she reported back to Adrian that night, she had a whole plan. You're really good at this, Adrian said. At what? Being her... He stopped, not sure what word to use. Her what? I was going to say mother, but that's not quite right. You're something else. Something equally important, but different. Emma's eyes got bright. I love her, you know, not the same way I love you, but just as much. I know. She loves you too. Even with Victoria in the picture? Especially with Victoria in the picture. You're the one who shows up, every time. That matters. They were sitting on Adrian's couch, Lily asleep upstairs, the city quiet beyond the windows. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. I've been thinking, she said. About? About us. About where this is going. Adrian's chest tightened. And? And I think I want to know, not in a scary way, just I want to know if we're heading somewhere or if we're just seeing what happens. What do you want? Emma sat up to look at him. I want somewhere. I want a future. With you and with Lily. I want to stop being scared that this is temporary. It's not temporary. Then what is it? Adrian took a breath. It's everything. You're everything. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. You're my partner, my best friend, the person I want to tell everything to, the person I trust with my daughter, the person who makes me better. He paused. I don't have a ring. I don't have a plan. But I know I want you in my life. Permanently. Emma stared at him. Is that? I'm saying I want to marry you, eventually. When you're ready, if you want to. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. I know. I'll do better next time. There better not be a next time. But Emma was smiling now, tears running down her face. Yes. Yes. Yes, I want to marry you. Eventually, when I'm ready. Which might be now. I don't know, but yes. Adrian kissed her, tasting salt from her tears, feeling lighter than he had in years. When they pulled apart, Emma was laughing. We're really doing this, she said. Apparently. Your board is going to hate it. They'll get over it. My principal is going to cry. Happy tears? Probably. She's very emotional. They sat together planning nothing and everything, talking about a future that felt impossibly real. Around midnight, Lily appeared at the top of the stairs, rubbing her eyes. Why are you guys being loud? She asked. We're not loud, Adrian said. You're laughing. That's loud when I'm trying to sleep. Emma got up and went to the stairs. Sorry, sweetheart. We'll be quiet. What were you laughing about? Emma glanced at Adrian, who nodded. We were talking about getting married. Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Really? How would you feel about that? Would you live here? Probably. Would you be my mom? I'd be your stepmom. You already have a mom, but I'd be someone who loves you just as much. Lily thought about this. Would I have to call you Mom? You can call me whatever you want. Can I keep calling you Miss Emma? Absolutely. Okay, then I think it's good. Lily yawned. Can I go back to sleep now? After she went upstairs, Adrian and Emma looked at each other and burst out laughing. That went well, Emma said. She's very practical. She gets that from you. Probably. In April, Adrian took Emma to a charity gala supporting children's literacy. It was one of the events he'd always attended alone, making appearances because it was expected, writing checks because he could afford to. But this time, walking in with Emma beside him, it felt different. She wore a simple black dress she'd bought on sale, her hair pulled back, minimal jewelry. She looked beautiful and completely out of place among the designer gowns and expensive jewelry. But she held her head high. You okay? Adrian asked quietly. Terrified, but okay. They mingled. Adrian introduced Emma to board members, business partners, society types who'd never given him the time of day when he was building his company, but who now hung on his every word. Some were gracious. Others barely hid their disdain for the teacher who didn't belong. Emma handled it with more grace than Adrian could have managed. She smiled politely at the condescending comments, answered questions about her work with genuine passion, and refused to be intimidated by people who measured worth in net value. Halfway through the evening, the organizers announced that Emma was being honored for her work with literacy programs. Adrian hadn't known. Emma clearly hadn't either. She looked shocked when they called her name. She walked to the microphone on shaky legs. Adrian watched from the audience, pride swelling in his chest. Hi, Emma said, her voice uncertain at first. I'm not really prepared for this. I'm just a teacher. I show up, I teach kids to read, I go home. It's not fancy or complicated. She paused, looking out at the crowd of wealthy donors in their expensive clothes. But I want to tell you something about the kids I teach, she continued, her voice growing stronger. They show up every day carrying burdens you can't imagine. Hunger, instability, parents who work so hard they barely sleep. And despite all of that, these kids want to learn. They want to read. They want to understand the world. Emma's hands gripped the podium. So when you write a check to literacy programs, you're not just funding books. You're telling these kids that they matter, that their dreams are worth investing in, that someone sees them. She looked directly at Adrian then. And that changes everything, not just for them, for all of us. Because when we lift up the people who need it most, we all rise together. The applause was genuine and long. Emma stepped away from the microphone looking flushed and slightly embarrassed. When she made her way back to Adrian, he pulled her close. That was incredible, he said. I forgot half of what I wanted to say. You said exactly what needed to be said. Later, during the silent auction, Adrian bid on everything Emma showed interest in: a weekend at a cabin, a painting by a local artist, a cooking class. Emma kept pulling him aside. You can't keep doing this, she whispered. Doing what? Bidding on everything. People are staring. Let them stare. The money goes to literacy programs. That's what matters. Adrian. He kissed her, right there in the middle of the gala, in front of everyone who'd ever judged her for not being enough. When he pulled back, Emma was smiling despite herself. You're impossible, she said. You love me anyway. Unfortunately. They left the gala around 11, walking out into cool spring air. Adrian's driver was waiting, but Adrian waved him off. Want to walk? He asked Emma. In these shoes? Are you crazy? Take them off. I'm not walking barefoot through Manhattan. Why not? Emma stared at him. Then incredibly she laughed and kicked off her heels. Fine, but if I step on glass, you're carrying me. They walked through the city streets, Emma barefoot, Adrian carrying her shoes, both of them laughing about nothing and everything. At some point, snow started falling, the last snow of the season, light and brief. Emma stopped walking and tilted her face up to catch snowflakes. This is perfect. You're standing barefoot in freezing weather. I know, but I'm happy. Stupidly, impossibly happy. Adrian pulled her close. Me too. Even though your world spent all night judging me, especially because of that. You stood there and showed them what real grace looks like, what actual strength is. They can keep their designer clothes and their connections. I'll take you. Emma kissed him, cold lips and warm breath, tasting like champagne and possibility. When they pulled apart, she was crying. I love you, she said. I love you so much it scares me. I love you too. Promise me something? Anything. Promise me we'll always be this, real and imperfect, and choosing each other even when it's hard. I promise. They stood there in the falling snow, two people from different worlds who'd somehow found each other, and let themselves believe that maybe love was enough, that maybe choosing each other every day mattered more than where they'd come from or what they had. In May, Emma officially started at the foundation. Her last day teaching was emotional, kids crying, parents thanking her, her principal giving a speech about what Emma had meant to the school. Emma cried through all of it, hugging her students one by one, promising to visit. But the foundation work energized her in new ways. She hired teachers as consultants, created grant programs that actually made sense, and cut through bureaucracy with the kind of efficiency that came from knowing exactly what classrooms needed. Adrian watched her thrive and felt proud in a way he couldn't quite articulate. This was different from the pride he felt in business accomplishments. This was watching someone he loved become fully themselves. You're staring, Emma said one afternoon, looking up from grant applications. Sorry, you're really good at this. I'm figuring it out. No, you're excelling at it. There's a difference. Emma smiled. Thanks to you. I just opened the door. You walked through it. We make a good team. Yeah, we do. In June, Adrian and Emma got married. Not at a fancy venue with hundreds of guests. At City Hall on a Tuesday afternoon with just Lily, Marcus, and Emma's college roommate as witnesses. Emma wore a simple white dress she'd found at a consignment shop. Adrian wore the same suit he wore to work. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job with utmost seriousness. She scattered petals carefully, making sure each one landed exactly right. The ceremony took 15 minutes. The judge pronounced them married. Lily cheered. Marcus cried, which he tried to deny, but everyone saw. Afterward, they went for pizza at the place where Adrian and Emma had their first date with Lily. It was perfect in its imperfection. No big speeches, no elaborate decorations, just people who loved each other sharing a meal. This is the best wedding ever, Lily announced through a mouthful of pepperoni. You've never been to another wedding, Adrian pointed out. Don't need to. This one's the best. Emma reached across the table and took Adrian's hand. She's right. It's pretty good, Adrian agreed. That night after Lily was asleep, Adrian and Emma sat on their brownstone steps watching the city. Mrs. Patterson had agreed to stay over so they could have a wedding night, but neither of them wanted to go anywhere. We should probably do something fancy, Emma said. It's our wedding night. We could order expensive takeout. Revolutionary. I'm full of good ideas. Emma leaned against him. Thank you. For what? For this. For choosing me. For not giving up when things got hard. You chose me too. I know, but you had more to lose. Adrian thought about that. I don't think that's true. I think we both risked everything. We just risked different things. Maybe. They sat in comfortable silence, watching people walk past, listening to the city's endless rhythm. At some point, Emma said, Victoria called earlier. What did she want? To congratulate us, and to ask if she could take Lily for a full day next weekend. Her therapist thinks she's ready. Adrian's first instinct was to say no, but he swallowed it. What do you think? I think she's been consistent for 6 months. I think she's earned some trust. And I think Lily deserves to have a relationship with her mother if Victoria can maintain it. Okay? Okay. Yeah, let's try it. One day, we'll see how it goes. Emma kissed his cheek. You're a good father. I'm trying. You're succeeding. The summer passed in a blur of ordinary moments that felt extraordinary because they were shared. Emma settled into her foundation work. Victoria continued her visits, gradually earning more trust and more time with Lily. Lily started first grade and made friends who actually seemed to understand her. And Adrian learned how to be happy. Not the controlled, measured satisfaction of closing a good deal. Real happiness. The messy, unpredictable kind that came from building a life with people instead of around them. In September, Emma came home from work looking excited. What? Adrian asked. I got invited to speak at a national education conference about literacy programs in low-income schools. That's amazing. When? Next month. In Chicago. She paused. Will you come with me? Of course. And Lily, we could make it a family trip. Adrian loved that she said family so easily now, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Yeah, let's do it. The conference was massive, thousands of educators from across the country. Emma was nervous before her presentation, pacing backstage, rehearsing her opening. You're going to be great, Adrian said. What if I'm not? Then you'll be real, and that's better than great. Emma stepped onto the stage and proved him right. She didn't have perfect slides or practice delivery, but she spoke from the heart about kids who needed advocates, about teachers who needed support, about the difference that caring made. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, dozens of people wanted to talk to her, to ask questions, to learn more about her programs. Adrian stood back and watched his wife shine, feeling proud and grateful and slightly awed. She's really something, a woman next to him said. Yeah, she is. Are you her husband? I am. Lucky man. Adrian smiled. The luckiest. That night, after Lily was asleep in their hotel room, Emma and Adrian stood on their balcony overlooking the Chicago skyline. I can't believe people actually cared what I had to say, Emma said. Why wouldn't they? You're doing important work. I'm just trying to help. That's what makes it important. Emma turned to face him. Do you ever regret it? Choosing this life instead of something easier? Never. Do you? Sometimes I miss teaching. Miss those individual moments with kids. But then I think about how many teachers we're helping, how many kids will benefit, and it feels worth it. That's how I feel about us, Adrian said. Sometimes it's hard navigating different worlds. Sometimes I wish we didn't have to fight for acceptance. But then I look at what we've built. This family, this life, this partnership, and I know I'd choose it again, every time. Emma's eyes got bright. Even when I'm difficult? Especially when you're difficult. It means you're being yourself. You're not so easy either. I know. But I'd choose you again, too. They kissed, 40 stories above the city, two people who'd found each other against all odds and chosen to keep choosing each other. The flight home the next day was delayed, which meant they got stuck in the airport for 4 hours. Lily was cranky. Emma was tired. Adrian's phone kept buzzing with work emergencies. It should have been miserable. Instead, they made a game of it, found the strangest airport restaurants, made up stories about other travelers, let Lily teach them complicated hand-clapping games she'd learned at school. This is ridiculous, Emma said, laughing as Lily tried to teach them both at once. Completely ridiculous, Adrian agreed. I love it. Me too. Finally, they boarded. Lily fell asleep before takeoff. Emma leaned against Adrian's shoulder, her breathing evening out. Adrian sat there, his wife sleeping on one side and his daughter on the other, and thought about how his life had changed. 2 years ago, he'd been alone, successful but empty, going through motions without feeling anything real. Then Emma had walked into his life, this stubborn, brilliant, honest woman who'd seen past the money and the power to the person underneath. She'd challenged him, pushed him, made him want to be better. And somehow, impossibly, she'd loved him back. Marcus texted around hour 2 of the flight. "How'd the conference go?" Adrian typed back, "Emma killed it. Standing ovation. Told you she was a star." "Yeah, you did. You happy, man?" Adrian looked at his sleeping family, happier than I knew was possible. "Good. You deserve it." When they got home, Lily went straight to bed. Emma and Adrian stood in their kitchen, unpacking suitcases, talking about nothing important. "I'm glad we did this," Emma said. "The conference? All of it. The scary parts, the hard parts, the parts where we didn't know if we'd make it." "Me too." "Do you think we're done with hard parts?" Adrian laughed. "Definitely not." "Good. I'd get bored with easy." They finished unpacking and went to bed. Adrian lay awake for a while, listening to Emma breathe beside him, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. It hadn't been smooth. They'd faced judgment, scandal, doubt, fear. They'd almost lost each other more than once, but they'd fought for it, both of them. Every day choosing to stay, to try, to believe that what they were building mattered more than what they were risking. And maybe that was the point. Maybe love wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone real and choosing them anyway. Choosing them especially because of the hard parts, not in spite of them. Adrian had spent his whole life trying to control outcomes, minimize risk, protect himself from pain. But Emma had taught him something different. She'd taught him that the best things in life required vulnerability, required trust, required believing that other people were worth the risk of getting hurt. She'd been worth every risk, every fear, every moment of uncertainty. And so had Lily. And so had this imperfect, complicated, beautiful family they'd built together. Adrian fell asleep thinking that maybe success wasn't measured in quarterly earnings or company valuations. Maybe it was measured in moments like these, ordinary nights with people you loved, choosing each other over and over, building something that mattered not because it was profitable, but because it was real. The next morning, Lily woke them up early, jumping on their bed. "It's Saturday," she announced. "We should do something fun." "What kind of fun?" Emma asked, still half asleep.
"Penguin kind of fun," Adrian groaned. "It's too early for the zoo." "Not the zoo. The aquarium. They have a penguin feeding at 10. So they went to the aquarium, stood in the cold watching penguins dive and play while a keeper explained their habits. Lily absorbed every word, asked questions, beamed with joy.
Adrian watched his daughter's face and thought about all the moments he'd almost missed by being too busy, too focused on work, too locked in his own head. Emma caught his eye and smiled, understanding without words. After the aquarium, they got lunch at a diner. Lily talked non-stop about penguins. Emma engaged with every question, adding facts Lily didn't know. Adrian just listened, feeling grateful. "Dad, you're quiet," Lily observed. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About how lucky I am." Lily rolled her eyes. "You're being sappy." "Probably." "It's okay. I like when you're sappy." They spent the rest of the day doing nothing particularly special. Walking through the park, getting ice cream, watching a movie at home. Normal family things. The kind of moments Adrian used to think didn't matter because they weren't productive. But they did matter. They were everything. That night, after Lily was in bed, Adrian found Emma in their room going through old photos on her phone. "What are you looking at?" he asked. "Pictures from our first date. Look how nervous we both look." Adrian sat beside her, looking at the photo Marcus must have sneaked. Two people who barely knew each other, trying to figure out if they were making a terrible mistake. "We had no idea what we were getting into," Emma said. "Would you have run if you'd known?" "Probably." "You?" "Definitely." Emma laughed. "Good thing we were clueless then." "Good thing." She set down her phone and turned to him. "Adrian?" "Yeah?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. Not just the teacher or the girl from the wrong side of town, actually seeing me and deciding I was worth it." Adrian took her hand. "You've always been worth it. I'm just glad I was smart enough to notice. We're quite the pair, aren't we? The billionaire and the teacher. I prefer husband and wife. That works too. They sat together in comfortable silence, years of history compressed into a single moment. Adrian thought about where they'd started, two strangers on a blind date, both convinced it wouldn't work, and where they'd ended up, partners, spouses, parents, friends. It hadn't been easy. Probably never would be easy. They came from different worlds, carried different scars, saw life through different lenses. But they'd learned to bridge those gaps, to build something stronger because of their differences, not despite them. And maybe that was what mattered. Not finding someone who made life easy, but finding someone who made hard things worth doing. Someone who challenged you and supported you and saw you at your worst and chose to stay anyway. Emma was that person for Adrian, and he tried every single day to be that person for her. I love you, he said quietly. I love you too. Even when I'm controlling and overthinking and trying to fix things that don't need fixing, especially then, it means you care. You're too good to me. Probably, but you're stuck with me now. Best thing that ever happened to me. Emma kissed him, soft and familiar and full of promise. When she pulled back, she was smiling. So, she said, what do you want to do with the rest of our lives? Adrian thought about it. Keep doing this, building our family, supporting each other, trying to make the world a little better. That's it? No grand plans? I spent years chasing grand plans. They never made me happy. This does. This? You, Lily, coming home to people who actually care, having conversations that matter, building something real. Emma's eyes got bright. Yeah, that sounds good to me too. They went to bed soon after, wrapped around each other, comfortable in the life they'd built. Outside, the city hummed its endless rhythm. Somewhere out there, other people were falling in love, making mistakes, trying to figure out if taking a risk was worth it. Adrian hoped they'd take the risk, hoped they'd choose love even when it was hard, because the hard things were what made it real. The struggles and the fights and the moments of doubt, those were what proved you meant it. He'd meant it from the start, even when he'd been too scared to admit it. Emma had meant it too. And together, they'd built something that wasn't perfect, but was theirs. Messy and complicated and absolutely worth every moment of uncertainty it had taken to get here. That was the thing about love, Adrian had learned. It wasn't about finding someone who completed you. It was about finding someone who challenged you to complete yourself. Someone who saw your potential and believed in it even when you didn't. Emma had done that for him, and he'd tried to do it for her. They'd made each other better, not by fixing each other's flaws, but by loving each other enough to want to grow. And in the end, that was all anyone could ask for. Not perfection, just partnership. Not easy, just worth it. Adrian fell asleep holding his wife, grateful for blind dates he almost didn't attend, for women who challenged him, for second chances he hadn't thought he deserved. He fell asleep believing that maybe the best things in life were the ones you didn't plan for, the unexpected turns that took you somewhere better than you'd imagined. He fell asleep happy, and that, more than any business success or financial achievement, was the measure of a life well lived. Not in what you accumulated, but in who you loved and who loved you back. Not in playing it safe, but in taking risks on people worth the gamble. Not in building walls, but in letting them fall for someone brave enough to see what was underneath. Adrian had built an empire, but the greatest thing he'd ever built was this: a family held together by choice, a love earned through struggle, a life that mattered because it was shared. That was enough. That was everything.